Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Emanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and today we're sitting once again in the FSReborn FSR500, and we've got a special guest, FSReborn CEO RAUL.
Hello everyone, it's me RAUL, the developer of FSR500. How is everyone?
So, very nice to have you here. We are doing very good. I'm sure that the people out there are, and so am I. So, you had quite a busy time getting that thing out the door in the recent days, did you?
Yes, it was quite a busy time, a lot of stuff going on, but we managed to now release it, and we've been listening to all the community feedback on new things that were implemented, features they wanted to have in the future updates, changes that they are looking for, and addressing all the questions and things that they have about the product.
Very good. So we are standing on El Hierro Airport on the Canary Islands right now. We're gonna fly this one over to Lanzarote, which is like an hour and a bit flight. But before we even start doing anything, can you tell us a little bit of the background on why you decided for this particular model of an airplane?
Right. So this is a question I get quite often from people. Why are you doing such model, this one, this one? And the reason I picked these particular models, one another, are basically because I always wanted to be a pilot, just like yourself. Circumstances in my life didn't allow me to do so, and I use flight simulation as a means to fulfill those dreams. So when I pick up aircraft, is because it's one of those that I will really love to own in real life. And by creating it and modeling as much as I can to realistic, I am fulfilling the dream that I do own it, right? So now I have fulfilled my dream and I have a FSR500, and now I can sit on it and feel like I have one and it's working exactly as it should be on the real one. And that's kind of the philosophy behind of choosing one particular aircraft. Is a custom love for it. I have to feel it, kind of, so to speak, right?
Very nice. So it's fair to say that you're going into it with your full energy and that you're giving everything for that project, right?
Correct. And I have many projects, and the idea is that I want to have those dreams fulfilled. And if you see our roadmap, is kind of a progression. We started with a little one, right, which is an ultralight, the Sting S4, and that was another one that I fell in love because when I was studying flying, because I did fly for real for a while, I had a lot of times on Icarus and as well DA-20s, and the cabin of these DAs is something that I always enjoy. And then when I saw these Sting S4, I just fall in love with it. I thought I have to have that. And I checked how much it costs in the real world, and it's something that is really not that expensive in comparison with a Cessna, right? So I thought, okay, fine, this is the first one I'm gonna do, and that's how the whole journey started. And then there was, okay, but if I could afford something more powerful to go higher in the sky, where it will be? It is the FSR500. And on the same line of progression, as time goes by, there are bigger and bigger and bigger aircraft coming into my mindset that I want to develop.
Alright, so in a couple of years' time, if I start a crowdfunding project to get you an A330 type rating, is there any chance?
Well, funny you mentioned that because there is, how I say, these are little dreams that I have, right? So I'm building my dreams, and I want people to share those dreams with me. And there is, when people have dreams that they want to share, you always have like what I call your Mount Everest, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Where you want to get. And there is one particular aircraft that I have loved my entire life since I was a child, and that's the Boeing 727-200. And the reason is because for me, it's just an amazing machine. What that aircraft managed to do for this time and era, it was just incredible. I love the shape of it, I love the sounds that it does, everything about it. And that's something that it is on my roadmap. And I want to build a Boeing 727. But you have to walk before you run on Microsoft Flight Simulator, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So the journey to get there already has started, because I form our partnership with ThinkWorks Studios, and we both gonna do it together.
Very nice.
So with the income that I have generated from STS4, I worked on this particular project that you are showcasing and 2 others. And with the income that this project that you are showcasing right now, I'm going to be funding the Boeing 727-200. So we're going to be starting the 3D works pretty much by the end of November, I would say. And obviously it's a big airliner, so that takes time. So both flight sim companies, developing companies, will be working on other individual projects while things are going in the background, and then we will reach the dates that we know and have on our expedition the roadmap to kick off the 727 full blown.
Very, very nice. I'm absolutely looking forward to that. All right, though. Before starting to dream big, let's dream FSR500.
Correct.
So, ultimately, that's why we came together. But I'm sure we're going to do that thing again when we're sitting in the 727. I think that's set in stone by now. I can promise you that. All right, though. So let's have a look into what we've got in here. I can see on the outside already we've got a lot of very nice options, like we've got the propeller coverings, we got the chocks in place, we got the pitot covers over there, and all of those things actually have an effect as well. They're not just visual animations, are they?
Correct. Well, my company philosophy is there is no point into putting something that doesn't actually do something, right? So, and that's why I promote FSReborn as a new immersion experience. That's the slogan of the company. One of actually the first philosophy is you want to have a new immersion experience and then come with us. So for example, you leave the pitot covers in there and you go in the air, you're not going to get any any readings in your Garmin, as I think you experienced that. And these little details are silly, but how I explain this to my wife, for example, she told me, well, that's so silly. And I said to her, yes, but when you have 100 silly things together, it becomes something incredible, right? Because it's some little details that adds to something and adds to something and adds to something. It makes the whole thing different. And like some customers that never fly the types and that never think that they will enjoy a product like this one or the STS4, and they get into it and start using it, they can't explain why they cannot stop flying it, right? And this is what I call the FSReborn experience. This is what I tell them, yeah, it's because the whole amount of silly, small, stupid details that we put in certain things add together to something that makes you feel happy about it, right?
I can totally understand that. It's really just that feeling that you're getting that, oh, you're not just stabbing into a thing and you go flying it, but you actually need to think along. I mean, think about the pitot tubes, for example. Even though you've got that remove before flight thing attached to it, I mean, it's really small to see and it's quite easy to miss. And I'm sure that just like I did on one of my very first flights with it, there will be a lot of other simmers who are just going to miss it eventually, but it is going to add to that experience of, okay, I'm sitting in something here, I need to think about what I'm doing, and ultimately that just creates that feeling of being there, at least to me.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing about it, right? Of course, the other philosophy of the company is that I understand not everyone want to have that kind of level of complications or failures. And this is what we offer them the opportunity to say, well, forget about that. I want to disable everything. I want just to press Ctrl E and go. And actually, they can do that. They can go into the EFB, release and settings, turn it all off, everything off, and off you go. You can press Ctrl E and just fly like a normal product out there. But there is a chance for you to start learning slowly and say, well, okay, I'm comfortable to see now what will happen with my host stars only. So you could disable everything and just put the host stars only, for example. And then what will happen is that you will experience how the ITT goes high So you start learning about that. But if you go higher, it doesn't kill the engine because you have engine failures off. So all these toggles actually, they are not exclusive, they are combined. You could have, for example, only wear and tear, but not them failing. So you can explore, okay, if I put the battery wear and tear, if I put the bulbs there, because even the light bulbs will break on this. If you put only the light bulbs failures, but nothing else, you could see what happened, right? You could enable only the tear, but not the failure. So you see, okay, by now, my bulbs will be burning out. We also understand that people don't want to wait 250 hours, right? So you go right now to the settings. There is something that you can do on individual basis. So, for example, lighting, put an X4, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you go back to the previous page. Now you can see the hours change. And it's telling you you have instructed the simulation to actually break things 4 times faster. And that's what has happened, right? So you can accelerate the wear and tear and then accelerate your failures or run it on normal speed that you had it, which is X1. So the product is all flexible on these kind of areas because my objective is to allow people to experience the things as they feel is right for them. And what is good for me might not be good for others. What is good for someone that wants to experience everything as a real life might not be the same for someone that just is starting to get into a flight simulator for the first time. But first of all, welcome everybody. We want everybody to have the experience. And this is the opportunity that they have with all our products. STS4 is the same. It has the same philosophy of disabling, enabling, and doing all the things that you're doing here on the EFB. So they can tweak the product to their needs as they go. This morning, I have somebody come into Discord server and say, no, I don't want any failures because I try it and it's too much for me. I said, fine, do this. And he's now absolutely happy because, yes, this is better for me. And that's the whole point, right? He adapts.
That's really cool. Ultimately, it gives the simmer the ability to start at a, newbie point of view and then stay on the same airplane while working himself up to the professional standards. So,
yes.
So if I'm doing everything at 1x, where do the numbers come from that you're showing then? Is that the standard maintenance intervals?
Yes. So what will happen is when you go, for example, let's say, there you go, you have the numbers there. It says nap light, you have 4.04 hours, where your strobe lights have 3, right? And the landing light have 1.5, where the taxi light have 1.1. This is all based on the switches, because you have turned on the nap lights more that you have turned off the taxi lights. Mm-hmm. So it measures all that and it knows how long that lasts. These numbers of how long this will take is based on aircraft maintenance manuals that we have access to, and we read roughly how much they will last, however, or when the inspections come, when they get replaced. And we adapt them a little bit as well to the flight simulation world. Because obviously, if we say that a light bulb is going to last you 10,000 hours, it's no point putting the simulation there, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Let's face it. But we're putting something that will match the capability of how long someone has to sit in a simulator, right? So, in my view, after reading, as you can see, I'm very active on forums and everywhere because I like to be in touch with the community to understand how they operate in their lives on the flight simulation space. And the standard is that somebody is going to have time to fly 1 hour a day, sometimes not even that, sometimes an hour a week. And then over the weekend, they will get 2-3 hours quickly when their families go to sleep. Why I know that? Because I was one of those. I come as a user.
I've been there as well.
Okay, so I started doing this, as I said, to build my own dreams and then do something. So based on those figures, we adapt as well things, right? So like the brakes, you can select the brakes, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you see those percentage. So obviously, I'm showing you the percentage, but I know roughly how many flights you're going to do per week. And based on the real capacity of the brakes that exist on the real world and how they get used, we tweak the numbers, and then the beta team tests them and then based on their feedback, we start tweaking them. And it worked quite well with the STS4. People were very happy about it. Of course, you can increase the wear and tear speed, right? And then they will burn faster. And they react as well on how well you're braking. I can see that you're using proper beta because they're still at 96. If you weren't, they will be already gone because you're braking too hard. So everything reacts to how you behave with the aircraft.
Very cool. So when I first got the airplane, I was like, well, I don't want to read manual. I'm just going to play around with it. I tried the starter, and I think I went in manual start mode and just held it and ran the starter dry for like a minute or something, and all of a sudden I was wondering like, man, I can't get that thing to start up anymore. I interrupted the start process, tried it again, this time with a manual, but it wouldn't start anymore. And you will still remember that I texted you like, hey, I can't get my airplane to start up, and then you told me like, check your CBs and then go into the maintenance. I want to demonstrate that to the people because it is going to show you some of the features you built in. Now, I suppose with a real-life airplane manufacturer, if I told them, well, I want to show my viewers that I'm breaking your airplane now, he would be rather upset. I suppose I can do it without you slapping me and quitting the stream straight away?
I am super happy you to show this because this is actually demonstrates how much care is behind all this, right? Why we're doing this particular failure that you experienced, right? So people is aware. This is based on real-life story. The way that we work at FSReborn, I am the only developer, but I surround myself by a wonderful team of people that love flight simulation as incredibly, and they want everything to become better, and they push me every day to increase the simulation experience. And some of them are real pilots. And this guy comes out and say, I had experienced it this year where I forgot to stop my starter and it burned out. I went, what? Yes, show me how that happens. So what happens? And he's explaining everything. And I put it in, but I didn't tell them. Right? So I put a feature and I released it. See that suddenly on the beta test and see what happened. And they all started burning the starters, right? And he went absolutely mad. He said, I can't believe you have done this. I love it. And that's why I knew it was a great feature. So this is the philosophy. The more information I get from real life, the more I put in, because I feel like people love those little details. Like, okay, so that actually does really happen. Yes, it does. One of the things that we're going to upgrade now on that particular failure is he told me, I didn't have time to put it in because that was one of the last things I did before submitting to Marketplace. Is that when you burn the starter, because it's electrical, you should see white smoke coming from the top of the engine, for example. So that's something I'm going to add soon. So that will help as well to people to have a reference. Okay, I did something wrong because the smoke will start coming up, and you're like, "What happened?" Right?
Oh, really cool! I can't wait to see that. All right, let's show people what we mean. So I'll flick the battery on, and then let's just give it a little while until at least our PFD is started up. Here we go. So I'm just going to keep the mixture in the cutoff position. Then go manual starter and push the start, right?
Yeah.
Okay, wait a moment. I need to zoom out a little bit. Alright, here we go. So, starter is engaged. So let's give it a little while to just run up then. And I'm just not gonna turn on the fuel, and eventually after like a minute or so it's gonna burn through, is it?
55 seconds, I know that because I coded. We're giving people more time. In real life, it can happen between 30 to 40 seconds.
Wow.
I give a wider margin thinking that will be enough, but it wasn't. You have no idea the amount of generators that were reported broken on my server.
And here we got it, people. That's why we definitely need to read our checklist and need to follow our procedures. That's about as quickly as you're breaking how many thousands of dollars?
Oof. I don't know how much it costs, but there you go.
All right. Here we had it. It just popped. It's running down. All right. And now comes the funny thing. You know, with circuit breakers in airliners, they're always colored on the side, so it's easy to see that they're popped.
Yeah.
But now,
Here, yeah.
yeah, now I've been standing here, I was like, okay, so that didn't work, okay, let's get out the checklist. So, battery on, emergency check, blah, 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 blah. Then eventually start a push, starts running up, or not.
No.
And that just drove me crazy. Then I messaged Raul and I was like, hey, is there something I'm missing with your airplane? And he was like, yeah, there might be. Alright, so let's disengage that starter. And, you know, it can be quite hard to see. Because now we gotta look down here at the circuit breaker, and here it is. The engine start CB just popped out. But now, when I'm putting it back in, the thing is still broken, is it? So,
Yes.
let's try that start
Yes.
again.
Yeah.
And now look at that. You know, it just came up a little bit, but it's going straight back down. And then I did the typical flight simmer thing. I just held the button to see what would happen. But obviously it wouldn't start up. So,
Yeah.
in order to fix that...
And look at the circuit breaker pop again.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, here it is. The CB is back out again.
Yes. So the entire simulation of the aircraft checks the entire electrical system. It's all mapped as per real with buses, amps, everything. So after I build that up, I start to build it on top. And after I build the next layer, I go to the next layer. So you end up with this kind of immersion where everything just, in my mindset, is like a puzzle that you just finish, right? And now when you start the starter, I can measure the seconds and then you say fail. Boom.
Oh, very nice. Alright, so to fix it, you said we just go to the maintenance page, we find the thing that we broke. In that case, there was a generator, wasn't it?
Yes.
Alright, so we've got two options, perform maintenance and replace. Which one would we choose?
Okay, so there is a difference. When you perform maintenance, it just tells you when you did the last maintenance and the mechanic theoretically fix it for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you click replace, it was going to give you a new one. So you see the text on top that says generator regular maintenance. It says every 300 hours. What that means? It means that according with the manufacturer of the generator, you should have inspection every 300 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're flying with everything on for releasement, that means that when you reach 300 hours, you should come here and say, give me a maintenance on my generator, which is you doing the inspection, right? For simulation purposes.
Mm-hmm.
If you forget to do it and you keep running on it, it's like you're running on an old part, which increases the chance that it can go wrong at some point.
Mm-hmm.
If you carry on hours on top, by the time you reach to a certain point, it's going to fail it, even if you're operating it correctly.
Very
because
cool.
You didn't keep it up to the maintenance and stuff like that. So if you say perform maintenance, it's going to leave the same generator and it's going to log when was your last maintenance to count another 300 hours. If you say replace, it's brand new.
Alright, very good. So we're going to do some maintenance over here.
There you go.
I don't want the
that?
embarrassment of buying a new part straight away, like 4 hours into flying the plane.
Yeah.
Alright, very cool. So that's that. And on the pre-flight page then we got this overview over here as well. So is that just like the very quick view up here?
Yes. So the whole concept of this, I'm going to improve it now further based on feedback, is that this is the kind of inspection that you can do as a pilot without opening the hood to see very deeply inside the engine, right?
Mm-hmm.
You do your, there are other products out there that are doing what is called the walk around. Okay.
Yep.
I wanted to implement it, but I haven't, and this is good that I can explain why. When you're doing these walk arounds currently on Microsoft Flight Simulator, what happens is that you have to simulate a camera that you are inside the aircraft. So the sounds are not right because Microsoft Flight believe you are inside.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I didn't like that. It doesn't go with my kind of philosophy. I like doing things right. I wanted people to feel the sounds when you're walking around as you are walking around the airport. And what happens, you hear them muted. And then the click spots don't work. It all goes wrong. So instead, I did it here, where you are simulating, you're doing the inspection. And then you checking your tires are okay, your battery is fine, your nut bolts are okay. So give you a kind of quick overview if you have any failure. there are more advanced failures like that starter that you will not know until the CVs are popping out. I wanted to leave that upside of this view just to have the experience that you did, because it's a nice introduction into, okay, I really need to think what I'm doing with this aircraft. It's not just pushing buttons.
Very good. All right, so let's. We're like 25 minutes into the video, and all we did was to kill a starter and drain the battery a little. Let's go ahead and get that flying for a bit. So, here's what. Well, here's all I can do, because I'm a pilot. Pilots are dumb, so all I can do is read checklists. So when I'm reading that checklist and preparing the flight, if you think there is anything that's really worth pointing out within all those checklist items, feel free to interrupt me, okay?
All right.
Cool. So I've got the checklist straight from your manual. So we've got the before starting engines checklist. Passengers aboard. Well, that's where things are getting interesting again. I suppose we could talk about that ground ops page for, like, you name it, hours at a time, but a couple cool things that I just want to talk about. We'll get into a little more detail in flight, but just as we're sitting here, let's load up a little, and let's just go for the loading on real time. And when we do that, there was, or straight after the release, there was a suspicion that loading something in real time might possibly cause a frame rate problem. And while we've been chatting prior to starting the recording, you told me a really interesting story there that I thought we should really share with people, because it really goes to show how easy some things can be, but how difficult they can be even to get to that idea of what you might have to do to fix something. So do you mind sharing that story with us? Telling us?
Yeah, sure. You want to do it now? You want to do it when you're in the air?
Oh, let's do it now. We've got to wait until our passengers arrive and until they start taking selfies anyway.
So basically, on certain CPUs and certain Microsoft Flight Simulator installations, people were reporting a heavy drop on frame performance. And when the first report came in, I was a little bit surprised, because my developing PC is 9 years old. And that's why I used to develop this. And it's a 980 Ti with an i6000 core processor, and my system run at 60 frames per second, right? So I was really shocked when people with 490s and 12K CPU processors and amazing racing hardware were telling me that something was not running. So we identified multiple points that would trigger Microsoft Flight Simulator to lose the performance. One of them were external mods that were installed and people forgot about them, and those mods has been known being serviced by those freeware developers for a long time, and they were interfering with the click spots of the EFB. So once we fixed that, there you go, that's the fuel drop coming in. So when we fixed that one, then we discovered that there was another trigger point, which were effects. Apparently, on the light effects, it released some properties that could cause these performance hogs. So we fixed that one, and we still had some people that were having issues, and we couldn't understand why. So we started hunting it down. We started hunting it down from Saturday after release. I don't know what day was that. And I work non-stop, non-sleeping, probably from Saturday all the way to yesterday, when we finally narrowed down what it was. And the difficulty was that something was very difficult to track down. We thought it was these ground vehicles, because nobody else has done something like this from inside the MS SDK core. We are moving these vehicles and bringing it to the aircraft and calculating geolocations and doing all sort of advanced stuff that we're going to explain after this little history. And I know that nobody else has been doing this from inside Microsoft Flight Simulator was an SDK, so I thought it was that. And with the tester, I started disabling things and try now, disable this, try now, disable this, try now, and nothing. We're still having the issues. And it all came down to one line of code that was left there by mistake, which is related to input events for keywords. What happens is when you have these EFBs or the working title G1000, you can, on PCs, use your keyboard to type things. So for example, you want to put your SimBrace profile, and you want to say, my symbolic profile is Emmanuel, right? And instead of going through the virtual keyboard and clicking all about to put your letters, you might want to just say, no, I want to type it because it's quicker. So we have to cater for this, but if the person changes the camera to upside, it will leave the keyboard locked. You see?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to execute a command to unlock the keyboard in case the camera change, or you're gonna just screw up for the person. And what happened is the code that does that when the person changed to external camera was running all the time. So when the persons that were affected by this bug were switching to external camera, the frames will start to drop. And then when they came inside, it will stop the code and the frames will stay as they were before. And they go again upside, and it's degrading over time every time they were on external. Look at that, the fuel hose is just absolutely connected on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the problem. And then as soon as I removed that line of code, which was just one variable, everything just started flowing super fast. We issued a hot patch, and as the time this video is recording is being processed by Microsoft, we don't know when it's going to be available on the marketplace, but if anyone is still suffering this, they're more than welcome to come to my Discord server where a hot patch is available, or email me and then I will send it. Not everyone is affected, but some people were really affected, and those that feel it, then they should put the hot patch that I developed. But if by the time of this video is released on the marketplace, you have the FSR500 version 1.09, then you don't need a patch because it will be already part of the product.
Very good. I suppose it can be really hard to even get to the idea of what is actually causing it, right? I mean,
yes.
The way you described the issue, it would look to me like when I worked in flight simulation support for a little while as well with another flight simulation company, and when I would hear something like that, I would be asking things like, okay, so what kind of computer do you have, in what situations do you run your airplane? Yeah. But getting to the point where you pin it down to, okay, it's the user behavior by opening up that on-screen key or that keyboard input on the electronic flight pack and then changing to the outside. I mean, tracking that down must be such a headache, and I can only imagine in the end when it's a single line of code that's caused it. Yeah, I can only imagine how relieved you must feel when that thing is finally solved.
I'm gonna say that tonight is the first day I'm gonna sleep well.
I totally believe you. I really do.
Yes.
All right.
So that was a story about that, which is what it is, you know. Now the trucks has a nice history as well. These trucks took me a lot of work. You see those hoses, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if you imagine what's happening right now, you could take off and leave the truck behind.
Mm-hmm.
The truck is not part of the aircraft. The truck is an individual alone object.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So to make it connect exactly on that spot where you saw it, I have to calculate geolocations on the Microsoft Flight Simulator and hit a target behind the aircraft of 10 centimeters.
Mm-hmm.
If I miss that, then the hoses will be de-aligned and they will not get on the right wing. That took me weeks and weeks, and when I finally got it working, I was just screaming all around the house, and my wife was like, "What happened?" I said, "The hose works," and she's like, "Oh, come on."
So your wife wouldn't believe that your hose worked?
Yeah, exactly, pretty much.
All right. Well, I suppose before my girlfriend's gonna hear that we are talking about hoses and stuff like that,
yeah,
we just better...
The fuel hose.
Oh yeah, the fuel hose, of course.
All
right.
Comes the SUV now.
Yeah, passengers are coming, so let's just quickly head back and open up that door for them, shall we? Or is that gonna open automatically?
No, you will need to open it there or on the EFB, whatever you choose.
Mm-hmm. I tell you honestly, the animation is so nice, and overall, I really like the quality of your cabin so much that I much rather go in the back and do these things myself, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, this is important as well to say, because they go luggages. Those are individual objects, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I designed all these luggages textures and layout myself. So the cabin and the external model, right? On Microsoft Flight Simulator, we have what is called a limit of berths. Okay, depending on the size of your aircraft, you have a budget, and you have to stick to the budget, or the product will have issues. Okay, so you have to decide where you put your level of detail. Okay, so it's all like a balancing game. Do I put 25,000 bolts on the landing gear, or do I make the cabin the best I can so people can enjoy it? And that's exactly the approach I took. I thought, no, it's better if I do it all the high quality detail things inside the aircraft, because this is where you're going to be most of the time. So you're going to see that certain areas under the carriage are missing bits, and that's because I decided that it was not worth it to spend draw calls on certain things. It was better on the cabin. Like, if you zoom in into the pillows, you will see the level of quality they have. They feel like they're real.
Oh yes, really.
Right? Okay. So this is the whole thing behind it. Where is it going to be the person mostly being, so he can enjoy the visual? I mean, I've been developing these now for what, 16 to 17 months, and I think I saw the undercarriage landing gear 2 times, right? And I'm pretty sure it's the same thing with people. They will do it the first time, they load the aircraft, and then you go flying. So the detail is really on the cabin most of the time, and you can see the lighting, how it reflects and that kind of things. And that's where the quality is, where you're gonna be inside.
Absolutely. Especially, I gotta show the croissant later on, because I was just amazed when I saw it for the first time. But let's do that in flight. For now, let's go ahead and get flying. Because I have a feeling we could go on for this for the next couple of hours and still stay on the ground over here. So, here we go. That's our door closed. So, going right back to the front then. Oh, I left the displays running. How many volts do we have now? 24.7. That should still be sufficient to start it up, right?
Yeah.
So let's just check that we actually got this circuit breaker back in.
The generator is out.
Yeah, here it still is. Okay, very good.
And the other one, generator as well.
Generator, where is that?
On the front bus to the right, and there you go.
Ah, down here. Generator control.
Important to explain people why 2 CVs are out. Okay. On a PT6 engine, what happens is your generator is a starter and have dual functionality. It is a starter and it's a generator. Okay, so when it breaks, you're breaking the whole component, and then you lose 2 parts. You lost your generator and you lost your starter.
Okay, so all those backgrounds are really, it feels difficult for me to sometimes say, like, okay, we should continue now, because there is so much going into it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the EFB already warns us it's so hot passengers want to jump out of the airplane, so I suppose we go and get that thing started now, do we?
Yes, well, it's 35 degrees in there, so yes. The temperature is rising because you close the door and you're sitting on the sun, and that's simulated.
Oh, right? Very cool.
So it's simulating that you're heating up and there is no even a vent, nothing running. So start it so we can put the aircon on.
Okay, so then let's go ahead. Before starting engine checklist. Passengers boarded, doors closed and latched. All electrical switches are off. Then cabin climate control off. Circuit breakers all pushed. ECS cabin comfort off. Park and brake on. Bleeder lever pull off. Power lever idle. Condition lever cut off. Emergency switch. Alright, so we gotta put that battery off for that. So power is off. Emergency switch. That's like the emergency battery, is it?
Yes. What happens is if you have a problem on the electronics and then the battery is disconnected, you can turn that kind of bus, and only the most important part of the flight, avionics and things, will be running. And so here you're just checking that that's the case.
Very good. So PFD is running, so we're gonna switch that one off again. So then, nav lights on, battery switch on, flaps retracted, so the lever is up already, and we got the flap 0 indication as well. So fuel gauges, check quantity and imbalance. So that's 319 on each side, and just to be sure we're on the safe side here, if we have a look into the ground ups, estimated range 561 miles, very good. So that's definitely plenty of fuel for our flight. Okay, OAT, fuel and oil temps. So something I've been wondering while I checked this, we got fuel temperature down here, we got the oil temperature over here, but just looking over here, am I missing the OAT gauge? Oh, yeah, I am. Down here it is. Alright.
Yeah.
So, forget about that. So, fire detection and annunciator test. That's something that I wondered about. I need to zoom out really a lot to reach that switch over there, but I suppose that's just how it is on this plane due to its construction, is it?
Yes. But on the user manual, we have all the L bars or events and axes that you can set. So you have a string deck profile, you can use a string deck profile. If you have an advanced hardware, you can set it to a button and then help you with the operation.
Ah, very good. That's certainly going to come in very handy. All right, so
I am in discussion as well with what's this thing, Honeycomb, because they're coming with these new panels. You know, the one they announced. They know that we have overhead panels and things, so we're gonna make it compatible too.
Very good. Okay then, last point on the checklist, CAS, consider any illuminated. So we've got pitot heat off, expected, takeoff config, expected, alternator off, generator off, and feather, all of those are expected. So all of those are considered before starting engine checklist complete. So let's go ahead with the auto engine start using battery checklist. Battery voltage between 24 and 26, fuel pump. Manual. So, left and right fuel pump on CAS messages are checked down here. Ignition switch. Manual, and ignition on, checked on the CAS as well. Prop area clear, it certainly is. Okay then, from here, start switch, or start mode switch auto, light and switch extinguished. That's what it is. Alright then, so standard PT6 engine start procedure. But I can see in the checklist, ITT maximum 1000 degrees, limited to 5 seconds. So I suppose I know what's going to come if it exceeds that?
Yes, it will blow the engine for real.
I'm tempted, but let's try to do it let's try to do it the real way. All right, starter is on. We're at 13%, and here we go. Okay, so that ITT on the engine start. You told me earlier your ITT model is quite an advanced one. I suppose that goes for the engine start as well?
Yes.
So under what kind of conditions could we actually reach those 1000 degrees?
Okay, so obviously there are a couple of conditions. It could be number one, that you put NG too soon. You put fuel before NG has reached the recommended number, which is 13. So for example, you did it at 8. What happens now, the fuel chamber is full before ignition has started, and there is not enough speed on the engine to get rid of the heat. And then now you get a residual heat inside with the combustion of the fuel, and then you just start going too high. Or you could have residual heat from a previous start, so your ITT is already too high, like 200. So when you try to start it, then what happens is it goes too high. Those are the two conditions currently simulated. They're gonna more. We're gonna include more, but we wanted people to just to get used to the aircraft as it is. We think it's hard enough. So then the next version are gonna start increasing conditions as a surprise to people of the engine start. So if they don't follow the checklist, they're gonna start seeing more hot starts.
So there we got it, guys. You need to follow that checklist. Don't just build your own procedures just because they work now. Do follow those checklists, always.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So from here on, all the parameters are stabilized right now. Then let's go ahead and put on that generator and close the cover as well. Okay, generator is on, and the voltage now is showing 48. Okay, then let's put on the alternator as well, and now we can see the load is split, 24 each. So generator and alternator, is there anything that we should be aware of, like in the power circuits there? Or is that just both are equal, and when both are on, they share the load.
In the real airplane, it shouldn't. In the real airplane, what happens is that you get everything on the generator, and the alternator takes over. But I have a current problem that I can't force reliably Microsoft Flight Simulator to split them unless I put fake numbers in there. And I didn't want to do that because the electrical system is all mapped as per real, as it should be. And I wanted to leave it actually real. I don't want to put a fake number there on the electrical system. I can make up a variable and tell you it's 0, but that's not what's happening. I'm letting Microsoft Flight Sim to say, well, I am providing this amount of voltage to the bus. So right now it's sharing it until I get help from Asobo on the SDK to find a way to actually code that they take cover as a standby. At the moment, the SDK only allows you to do it, or you have 2 generators and both work, right?
Okay. All right. So then let's go on. Fuel pumps, we're gonna put that one into auto. Ignition is gonna go off, and oil pressure is checked at a minimum of 60 psi. We're well above that by now. And that's the auto engine start battery checklist complete. So let's go ahead with the before taxi checklist. So, avionics switch coming on. MFD is coming on and entered. So, CAS messages, consider any illuminated. That's pitot off. Takeoff config, both are associated with our current condition of the airplane. Autopilot, pre-flight test. How exactly would that work? Or does it work at the moment?
The autopilot, right? So what happened is, first we have a bug on the circuit breaker that they told me yesterday. It doesn't animate. That's going to get fixed. But in the real aircraft, when you pull that off, what happened is that the servos and everything behind the autopilot should cease to work. So you turn it on, and you pull the circuit breaker. It should just deactivate. Basically, that's what it means.
Okay, so we put it on, and now I just gotta find that CB, I suppose.
Is there next to a standby instrument? You see autopilot?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you see it's not working correctly right now. That was just pointed out to me yesterday, so that will get fixed.
Okay, perfect. So I'll just disconnect it, and that's it. Okay, cool. Then pitot heat switch on. The warning goes out and off again. Single chime, and the warning is there again. Okay, so taxi and recognition light switch on. Well, that seems a little bit early to me in that checklist, because I thought, like, well, at this point we'd start programming the avionics, wouldn't we?
Which one?
The taxi and recognition light switch.
Well, it is what the aircraft manufacturer says it is. We did exactly as they say. Does it make sense to me as a pilot? No, but you know how it is.
Okay, so the real airplane manufacturer just put it there in the checklist, and
yeah.
All right. Well, then I'm just gonna leave it out for now. So, cabin climate control. This is the important thing now. Let's see, what have we done to the passengers? Yeah, 37 degrees. Okay, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, put on your seatbelt, guys.
Yep. Now, what the real aircraft pilot does, right? He explained to me that when he's on very hot circumstances like this, he goes and turns down the aircraft at maximum with the bleed lever off, so he's skipping the checklist, and then he put the bleed lever in just before takeoff. So this is to help to cool the aircraft. So you see the aircon, you turn it on.
So aircon is on.
Yeah, and then you say high. So that's the blowers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it high? No, it's not.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's low.
Here we go.
There you go. There you go. So now that's gonna start cooling off the airplane. And then just before takeoff, he remembers to put the bleed lever in. Why the bleed lever? Okay, so it's all simulated as per real. So what happens is the bleed lever engage into obviously the air coming from the engine, which is hot, and because you are at 36 degrees right now outside, or inside, and outside is 22, which is quite hot, you will start feeding hot air plus a cold air, and then it takes longer for the cabin inside to cool off. So that's what he does when it's a very hot day.
Alright, so the bleed lever is basically not just bleed air, but warm air as well.
Correct.
I mean, bleed air is always warm air, but I suppose it's worth still pointing that out. And yes, I know at some point a 787 pilot is gonna pop in now and tell me, what, bleed air is warm? What are you talking about? But we'll leave it at that. Okay, so, cool. Next up, radios avionics, check. Alright, so at that point, let's just go ahead and do it the quick way, because this is now Navigraph stuff that we're doing. So, flight plan catalog, that's all my SimBrief flights that we have up here, and we're gonna activate that first one from El Hierro to Lanzarote. So, import, thank you. Okay, so, do we need to do anything else on that one? Let's see, what's the weather like at the moment? 020 at 17 QNH 1022. Whenever I hear QNH, I'm always like, I gotta set that. Okay, 1022. And thinking about altimeters, there should be some standby instruments on the left over here, should there?
Yes, we have included because, I started the project 17 months ago. When that was happening, obviously we didn't have the working title framework avionics documentation. So I have nothing to follow as a documentation to develop my own avionics, right? They came out, if people think about it, on SOE 12. We're on SOE 13 when we're releasing. So I didn't have enough time. It's just impossible, right? Plus I've been burning my developing time for 16 months. So the whole idea is that we're gonna add that later because we felt like, that is kind of important, I know, but we put so many other features around the aircraft for immersion that I could do and that were important as well. You have to prioritize. I am the only developer on the company, it's only me. So that will come later, and what we're gonna do is on the Discord server, we're gonna do a public vote with all the customers, explaining we have these options, which one you want, and then we follow whatever they want. The power will be in their hands regarding this. The instrument that when I started was an Aspen unit, and now the one that I use is a total different one now, which is a little Garmin, the circular ones, just to show you the ACI. So even if I started doing the right one, I would have wasted my time because they change it, right? So you are in a moving target. It's something people need to understand. Look at the air coins now working. It's starting to pull off.
Yeah, temperature's going down nicely.
Yeah. So people need to understand you're in a moving target. Sometimes you start modeling an aircraft at the year you started, and down the line they change things, right? They could change the circuit breaker panel. They could change the switches on the top. They could change something. You cannot continue changing the 3D as you go. It's not viable. It costs money, right?
Absolutely.
So you know you need to understand within reason. You update the 3D to the latest where you can, and then you have to release one day, and then you continue upgrading the product. I understand people get worried when developers say, "Oh, but upgrades." I never see update for any developer. Well, okay, but you need to judge me independently from others, please. If you see the history of STS4, we released a version 1. We're right now on version 1.5 something, and version 1.6 is already coming with an updated flight model for a new weight class because they changed the weight class. So it's not like I'm abandoning this, because the philosophy of the company is, these are my dreams. Why I will abandon my dreams? You know, that's kind of, it's different.
Absolutely understandable. I mean, I've been through the same thing with the real airplanes changing all the time during the PMDG 737 beta. When I started flying the 737, we were on FMS version U12, and then, like, halfway through it, they changed to U13, and all of a sudden everything was different. And the entire thing just worked differently. And then, in the aftermath, customers will always be like, yeah, but you are not modeling one version, you're modeling a combination of several, and that's not realistic. And then I'm like, yeah, you want realistic? You go to Boeing and buy an airplane. I mean, that's a little bit harsh to say like that, but you get where I'm going with this. At some point, you just gotta stick to the resources and to the sources of information that you have, and that's what you gotta use. So, obviously, unless you buy the entire engineering plans from the real airplane manufacturer, then obviously at some point you have to make a decision like, okay, I'm going to use that information because this source is very good. I'm going to use that information because that source is very good. So
Yeah.
In any case, what we take out of this, guys, do go to the FSReborn Discord and take part in that poll to figure out which kind of standby instruments you want fitted to your airplane.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also a one-time possibility for the customer, is it?
Yeah, and we will decide together, because obviously you're gonna push more new features that are being asking, which I can do quite quickly, and then we're gonna say, okay, look, I have the PHENOM, I have to start doing the PHENOM, or you want me to spend this amount of time doing this instrument, or you want me to fit this instrument, and then I can work on the PHENOM faster. You know, I can't split myself in two. So they will decide, and then whatever we decide, we put in. You know, the nice thing is that they have access to me, and they're face to face. And I'm there for them, and that they can work with me to make things better. We already have on the forum a thread of 200 messages because we're gonna change something that they want to change. And I say, yes, perfect, yes, I can do it, fine, this is how we're gonna do it.
I can absolutely understand that. Alright, I'm just continuing with the setup over here, don't get that wrong please. I just need to make sure that we get flying eventually. Remember when we talked prior to the video about the amount of space I've got left on my drive? Well, okay. I've got sufficient space for another 2 hours of video, but after that we're gonna run out, so within 2 hours we need to be at our destination.
Alright, go on then.
Yeah. Okay, so for the avionics setup, I'd say we're pretty much done over here. So there is one thing over there that I saw during the pre-flight. That is when I'm changing my minimums, it's also changing the destination elevation. Did I get it right that is something that is just not supported at the moment in the G1000?
What should happen is that we should have something that is called LFA. And then when you set on the LFA, it should change that value. But I misunderstood the pilot, thinking that it was a minimum, so I did it wrong. And he was happy that I did it there, because we don't have the LFE. So it was a little bit of language misunderstanding between both of us. So now that the product came out and other pilots that have used the G1000 are telling me how it's supposed to work, what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove this thing that I did there. Right? And instead, we're going to read the destination elevation directly from the destination airport, because that's another way that the G1000 does it in real life, and that's easy for me to implement. So what will happen is you put on the flight plan, you say, this is my destination airport, I will do it. At the moment, it's doing this, but if you import from EMBRAER, it has set it, so 109. I believe if you set the minimum in the air, it will not modify it, but I'm not sure. But anyway, this is going to change.
Alright, very good. So, let's continue with the checklist then. Flaps verify retracted. They are. Elevator trim set for takeoff range. That's set down here. Rudder trim set 2 to 3 right trim, green mark. So that's what we're going to do over here. 2 to 3 units, so I'm just going to set something in the middle. Alright, bleeder lever push in. Now that one we're going to defer as per your pilot's instructions. Even though temperature is at 21.4 by now. So,
yeah,
I suppose temperature has come down, so we can put the bleed air on?
Yeah.
Alright, so bleed air is coming on. Okay, cabin pressure dump switch, verify position. That is still guarded and not dumping. ECS cabin comfort switch, normal. Destination elevation, we just talked about that. Store warning test switch, press to test.
Stop.
Okay, altimeter set, that's 1022, set left and right. And finally, park and brake release, and with that we're good to go. Okay, so let me just, before we get taxiing, make sure that going into the ground ups. Oh yeah, we gotta remove those pitot covers. We just talked about it. If that happened to me accidentally now. Alright, cool. So they're off now. Very good. Alright, cool. So with that we're pretty much good to go. What I'm gonna do, what I really like here, is to go to the IFR and VFR charts, then zoom in a little bit, because it gives us the safe taxi. I really like that.
You can do this on the EFB as well.
So on the EFB then, go to the charts. We're just gonna import that from SimBrief, just like our flight plan as well. See, so much more stuff over here that we didn't even talk about it. It's incredible how complex your airplane is. Alright, so...
Yes.
Suppose it just needs a little bit of time to load it up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
It depends on the internet connection. There you go.
Yeah. Perfect. Here we are. Okay, cool. So, let's see if there is any windsock around. Well, tell you what, forget about the windsock. We're just going to use the EFB for it. So, flight plan, departure, here we go. And that METAR is telling us 010 at 15 and slightly variable 1021, but that's a little older now by 1900 Zulu. I suppose we still got the most current one on the...
You can refresh it if you go back.
Okay.
And you scroll down. On the scroll bar on the right.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Click weather on the left.
Yeah.
There you go. Click refresh.
Ah, yeah, very good.
There you go.
All right, cool. So that's up here. That up here is the data from the flight plan from SimBrief, then, right?
That's correct. And then you can force it. No, give me now, and then you can do it there.
Okay, perfect. So on the weather tab down there, we can get the most current then. Very good. All right, cool. So with that, I'd say we're good to go.
Okay.
So now we're gonna turn on taxi light and park and brake released.
And you're moving.
Yep. So your plane is really responsive on the ground. Is the real one able to take such tight turns like we can over here?
And they actually as well very fast on taxi. And you see videos online. You can see people remove the taxi, the parking brake, and they're going sometimes immediately, depending on the temperature. You know, the RPMs will be higher, right, on the prop. And then on those circumstances, it will be just go super fast. And that's as designed, because the props, there is no idle, low idle or high idle like in other aircraft. It's just that's the idle, and it's 1,200 RPM to 1,350 depending on the atmosphere circumstances. So it's so fast that you have to taxi on beta.
But that works pretty well. Were there any development challenges involved in getting that right?
Yes, lots. What happened is at the time, SUE, we're talking about SUE 8, so people have some sort of clue. When I started doing the engine modeling, we couldn't do it right, and then SynWorks Studios, which is Alex and myself, we were facing the same challenges because he's building the PC-12, right? So we asked Sabo for ways to implement custom beta ranges, and they give us the SDK capability to do so. And we both started develop the technology together with the SDK changes. And the beta system that you see today here working, he has implemented on PC-12 too. So people buying PC-12 is gonna feel the same nice, cool beta ranges as FSR500 has, because we built it together. I mean, he did it differently in a different developing language. I did it on C++. He did it on a different language, but it's the same kind of technique, same kind of feeling that's going to be nice and smooth like this.
Very nice. Alright, then let's continue with the checklist there. Taxi checklist, well, we basically ran through all of that. Taxi area clear, power lever advance slowly. Well, we didn't need to advance it at all. It taxied quite nicely. Right now I'm standing on the brakes to hold it in place over here. If I'm letting go of the brakes, guys, then... Okay, now it's a little bit uphill, I believe, so now it's standing, but you could really see it when we entered that runway. Didn't use any thrust, and we went straight on. Okay, so, brakes are checked, steering checked, taxi checklist complete, let's continue with the run-up. So, park and brake, set power lever 1900 RPMs. That's always the greatest challenge in those PD6 engines for me, because it just takes them so long to respond.
Yeah.
But that's just how the real engine is it?
Yep.
Alright, so 1900 RPMs. I suppose a couple more or less aren't really going to do much of a difference, are they?
Yeah, that's fine. As long as you see the drop is what matters.
Yeah. Perfect. So, overspeed governor switch. Push and hold, observe 60 RPM release. So for this one, guys, you might have to switch to the 4K version of the video, but that's what we talked earlier that it might be very nice to get a little SDK for that, so that you can assign those to your hardware. But here we go, we've got a 60 RPM drop, letting go of the switch again, and it's coming back up. In the meantime, let me put the guard back on. Alright, and here it's coming back up to where we had it originally. So, power lever idle. It's in the idle now. Reverse lockout switch. Hold for a minimum of 5 seconds. So I can just push that and it's gonna hold automatically, is it?
Yes, because obviously we have to think about how people are gonna be able to do this. Imagine you trying to hold this and then go and test your reverse. It's just impossible, right? So instead I did it as a single push. When this is on Xbox, people can do it, right? So they can go and test. So the checklist says, so people understand that that's how it is. So because the whole point is them teaching them how to fly DCs, they sit in one of them one day for real.
Alright, so switch is in. Now I'm trying to pull the lever backwards, but it just doesn't work anymore. So it's blocking it out. Alright, so confirm beta and reverse not available. That's what it is. Okay, cool. So reverse lockout, switch release, generator switch off. And now we confirm alternator is taking over, so that's down here now. Alternator has taken everything. Very good. Okay, generator back on, and yeah, we talked about the split of the load between the two already. Cool, so that's the engine run-up checklist complete. Let's go ahead with the before takeoff checklist. Seats, armrest and belts, adjusted and locked. Generator switch on, alternator switch on. Bleed air lever in. ECS cabin comfort. That's set to norm. Fuel temperature, check within limits. So what are the limits for the fuel temperature actually?
The fuel temperature is all full, modeled as well custom. Okay, and I use the Airbus studies that they publish public, where it tells you how long it takes for jet A1 to get hot, cold, etc. I have the real curves, and they're all modeled as per real. Let's get in the air and then we talk about it.
Very cool, that's what we're gonna do. Alright, so just switching that one back to the flight plan already. Okay, cool, then fuel pump switch, manual. Manual, ignition switch, manual, pitot heat, on. Ice protection, well, we certainly don't need any of that today. Then taxi and recognition light switch, we're gonna turn it on pulse. Landing light on. Nav light on, strobe light on, flight instruments checked, CAS and PFD are checked. We just got the ignition and the fuel pump messages, those are expected. Engine instruments check, so everything is in the green, looking good. Radios, avionics and transponder. So this is going to be a VFR departure, so we're on VFR squawk and switch it on alt. And then we have got the flaps set. So what's normal flap setting for takeoff?
Okay, so normally you take off without flaps, but if you are on short field operations, obviously you can then use more flaps. If you put to more than 20, you're gonna get a warning because it's too much. So it is between 0 to 20, but the preference is just 0.
Alright, so I suppose the runway isn't that long over here. Let's just go with flaps 10 then.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Very good. Okay, elevator and rudder trim, once again set down here, set up here. Okay, flight controls, free and correct, so let's give those a quick check. Looking good. And timer and heading bug, start and sync. So heading bug, we are going to sync right now, and then timer start, and with that we are ready for the takeoff. Okay, so normal takeoff, brakes apply, power lever set to takeoff. Is there any trick that you can apply for setting that power, or do you just have to hold the brakes and slowly put it up until you reach maximum?
Right. So I will explain more when you're in the air, but the idea is that you hold your brakes and you wait until maximum power. The preference between 1-200 to 1-250. That's how the real pilots explain me they do the full takeoff on.
Okay, perfect. So then we rotate it to 85, obstacle clearance speed is 100, and once we are in positive rates, landing gear up, yaw damper on, and autopilot as required. So that is what we're going to do. Alright, are you ready to go?
Yep.
Very nice. Then the brakes are off. Actually, the brakes should be on. Starting the timer. Oh man, A330 thinking taking over here. So, between 1,200 and 1,250.
Yeah.
So that looks good. The other values are green. That's a little bit too little. Here we go. That's looking good. Alright, so, brakes off, take off. Wind is coming from the right. Use a little bit of aileron to the right. And I need quite a bit of rudder to the left right now to keep it on center line. I suppose that's exactly what the real one does, is it?
Well, we have some issues with Microsoft Flight Simulator ground handling because the winds are very exaggerated.
Mm-hmm.
So we feel like the exaggerations are on too much. But the alternative was to eliminate it all or have it there. And we decided to have it there. We explained all these little quirks on the manual so people understand the challenges that we went through. On a calm day, when you will feel the torque and everything hitting you to the left as it should be. When you have wind to the right, obviously there's a problem because you're having rudder right, and then the airplane tends to go there. But the entire idea of the rudder right is to prevent your legs from breaking, right? Because you have such a strong force of the torque that you need that help, and that's what the rudder frame is doing for you.
Alright, very good. So, we are now on the climb out, and I suppose over here, I'm going to continue hand flying for a little bit because I really like the flight model here. It's really easy to fly it very precisely, which is something that I'm missing in a lot of other add-ons. I do really like that. Like right now, I want 7.5 degrees of pitch. I can just put it there, I trim it there, and it stays there. And as long as there are no external influences, I mean, that's how an airplane behaves. But that is quite hard to achieve, is it?
Yes. This is something that somehow I have achieved now always, and it's becoming a signature of my product. A lot of people tell me, how you manage to do this trim so perfect? I can't explain, I just doing it. You know? I just don't know. I think it comes from the fact that I did a lot of GA flying when I was younger, and it came natural when I'm tweaking this. Okay, it doesn't feel right until I get it right. There is as well a lot of misconceptions about Microsoft Flight Simulator and the flight model. Yes, it has some quirks, but actually when you configure things right, it's quite accurate, as you're seeing right now. So what my approach has been is complementing where I feel is necessary, but using pretty much all I can from the core, especially the CFD, which is the computational fluid dynamics, and these turboprops, I believe is the first on the market that is actually using CFD, and I believe that is helping to that kind of behavior that you're experiencing.
Very, very good. Okay, so let's run the max continuous power climb checklist. Power lever is set for MCP, and I suppose that's just keeping it on those 1200 to 1250 on the torque, is it? And then checking that the other values remain in limit. So fuel pump is going to auto, ignition, auto, landing light, off, taxi, and recognition light. I'm gonna keep that on for now, just to be sure. With the landing light off, and the recognition lights can still pulse, can they? Or am I?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember. But they should, because it's landing light.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. It's still working.
Yeah, okay.
So sometimes that's the nice thing about flight simulation. Sometimes you can just go outside and check for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So those are going to remain on until we're above 100, just for a bird strike protection here. Ice protection, well, we don't need any of that. Engine instruments are all in limit. So climb speed for the best rate is 125, but we are doing 140 for the cruise climb. And the transponder verify on alt mode it is, and by now we can also do our IFR pickup, so let's just go squawk 2000, standard IFR squawk over here. And with that we're basically en route. And for now, still hand flying the plane, and the air is pretty stable over here. We just don't have any disturbances, and the plane keeps going where it's supposed to go. That rudder trim is really helping it, is it?
Yes, everything is tweaked. Very good. I love it. Something important that we're gonna put on the 3D model. The aircraft has a right aileron trim tab, and somehow I missed it. Right. So the pilot of the real aircraft told me, "Look, you're missing this part. I'm gonna put it on the next update." This week was about making everything stable, as we explained at the beginning of the video. So you have a right aileron trim tab, and that's what helps it to be so stable. Because aerodynamically, as you know, those trim tabs are designed to help you with the cruise. So they are all tested on wind tunnels. And what has happened is it's all set for you to, when you have your right rudder and you are climbing, it will keep your aircraft like this. And when you are on cruise level, at the speed of the cruise level, you will not feel any rolls. And the reason that you don't feel those rolls is because of the trim tab. So that's embedded on the flight model, even when I'm using the 3D. So I'm gonna put the 3D also.
Very good. Okay, so we're going through transition altitude, so I would say we go to standard barometric setting. And now let me also put on some of the autopilot. So it's going to be nav mode, it's going to be flight level change and autopilot on. And well, I suppose I should have aligned it with the flight director before turning on the autopilot, but let's be honest here, how often do we actually do that? Okay, cool. So we're climbing out, going to 26,000 as per the flight plan. Is that a typical cruising altitude for the FSR500?
Yes, you fly in Brazil. They're flying there around 28,000, depending on the distance. The aircraft is capable to going much higher, but where you are limited is by environmental factors. If the outside temperature is hot, then you're going to be ITT limited, right? Because as you climb, the air is thinner, and because the air is thinner, you cannot keep the engine cooler enough. And because the OIT is not that cold, what happens is when you push that lever all the way forward, which you're going to need at higher altitudes, you will start seeing alarms all over the place because your ITT is too hot. So that's something that is simulated. If you are in a place that is too cold, then you are limited because it's too cold. Why? Because this is not an airliner, and the fuel is going to start getting cold. And if the fuel gets too cold, what happens is it freezes, right? So that's the reason why we put all these performance tables on the manuals. You understand that depending on the ambient temperature, how high you can go. And this is the same thing for airliners. Airliners obviously have the advantage that they have, as you know, obviously you fly one of them. You have heaters on the filters of the fuel, and you have heaters on the wings, and you overcome these issues. And they go as well faster. When you go faster, you get what is called total air temperature, right? Which is what hits the frame, and it's a little bit warmer than actually subside. I am taking consideration actually that temperature, the total air temperature, for the simulation of the fuel. So depending how fast you're going and how high, that fuel is going to get cooler or warmer.
Very cool. I suppose, you know, flying the A330, usually things are like, well, minus 28, minus 29 degrees fuel temperature in the cruise. But when you're flying up high north in wintry conditions, the fuel, even in an A330, can get close to the freezing point. And then obviously we have to keep in mind where we are flying. When we uplifted the fuel in the European Union or in Africa or in Asia, we'd usually get Jet A1 fuel, which freezes at minus 47. But when we uplift fuel in the US or in Canada, we get Jet A, which freezes at minus 40. So all that stuff we still need to take into account. And then obviously we need to think about, okay, so the plane came in from the United States, so it probably still had some residual Jet A fuel in the tanks. Then we uplifted Jet A1 in Europe, we're flying back to the US, and all of a sudden, what's the fuel freezing temperature now? Nobody can tell you anymore. And that is when things get really interesting. And then obviously when you come from Africa, you can be 100% sure that there's so many percent of water in that fuel anyway. But that's the part that we shouldn't say too loud.
Yes. So for those reasons, I have done a very cool failure.
Okay.
Nice. All right. So if you see the placard, it tells you the temperature of the fuel, and the temperature of the fuel is lower than. No, go on the placards of the aircraft. It tells you how. You go on the top, right? You see there? It tells you the temperature. Okay, so that's a warning, and as you can see, it's not minus 51 as a lot of people think. It's the freezing point of JA1. They're telling you minus 41. That's one, because you need a safe margin, as you say, because you don't know what the mix is. And number two, the freezing point is much more than is much lower, because JA1, even when they have additive, it will start making wax, right? We know that. A lot of studies are saying that wax start appearing in form of crystals, and sometimes even at minus 39 already. And in a little airplane like this, the filters of fuel are tiny if you compare to a jetliner, right? And because of that, it will clog. And this is why you get a warning. Don't go to minus 41. So these aircraft have a failure of fuel freezing lines and the fuel filters. And when it happens, you will start seeing a lot of light shows on here. Someone already experienced it on the Microsoft forums and posted the pictures and stuff. And I was just thrilled that someone was able to experience it. So for simulation purposes, when you're reaching minus 38, 39, and simulating that your fuel lines are clogged, and now you're gonna lose the engine, and now it's up to your pilot skills what to do.
Wow. I honestly tell you, I haven't even seen that placard when I started talking about the fuel temperatures. And now all of a sudden you tell me there's a feature implemented with that and a failure implemented with that. That is amazing. That is just amazing. So another thing that just comes to my mind while I'm seeing it, obviously as we're climbing up higher, the air density is decreasing, and that means our torque is decreasing as well. So there's recently been some discussion about the rate at which torque is decreasing and everything with another product that came out. And on yours, I can see it decreasing straight away as we're climbing. So can you tell us a little bit about where all the data for your engine comes from? And
so when I did the first showcase, I work on a philosophy that I go to work on my cave and I don't tell people anything. And then when I feel I'm ready to show something, I do a showcase with somebody, and then the objective is to bring attention to real world pilots and then incorporate them into the team at that point where I am ready to start doing the tweaks, right? And those tweaks is getting real data. So well, Curtis, we got someone that's incredibly good, and he flies these type of engines and airplanes 3 times per week professionally. So he started helping us, and with his help I was able to get real-time recording data on the type for all his flights. So when I got the data, the first time that he tried, he told me, "Raul, this is shit, you have to do it all over again." And honestly, he told me. So I said, "What?" I said, "What do you mean? Can you talk to me with words?" And so he just posted, I think, 100 tickets internal to address. And one of the things that was shocking is this, because people don't understand. As a developer, all the data I have is a manual, right? But manuals are nothing compared to real world. Please, guys, don't believe a manual. Real world is different, and Manuel can tell you, he flies this thing for real, and it's different from the manual, always.
Oh yeah, so, I can absolutely sign on that. I can absolutely sign that. Same thing with everything where I have helped from the pilot side as an advisor.
Yeah. So when I coded the first engine model, I put that the max torque was 1313 because that's what it says everywhere. He got in and told me, "You know that you can push this all the way to 1500. I'm like, "What? But look, I have the manual from Pratt & Whitney, I have this." And it says, "Okay, wait." And he went to the real thing and did a video and over-torque it for me. You can over-torque this aircraft for real only for 2 seconds. And he did it just to demonstrate it. That's the commitment from that person to me getting it right.
Wow.
I have the video and I can show it to people on my server when he did it. And when he did that, I thought, oh my God. And we stripped out the engine model and start again. So we did the torque as per HB. And then he started giving me all these recordings of data. So what I have done is we recorded the data on intervals, because if we put the real data, we will not be enough space in people simulators with the amount of data we got. So we got data on different ISAs with tables of 5,000 feet 10,000 feet, 15,000 feet, 20,000 feet, 25,000 feet, all the way to 30,000. The 30,000 we have to kind of calculate because the maximum he can fly is 28, ITT limited. So basically we got all the data tables and I constructed a matrix between different ISOs that he was able to record. And then I hired mathematicians and people internal in the team that are mathematicians and engineers as well with the formulas to construct them the ISA -10, -5, etc. And with all this, we have our own interpolation of data for all the parameters on the engine, from torque, ITT, NG, fuel flow, you can name it. The fuel flow was the easiest of all. The fuel flow, when you reach the cruise, you pull up the manual, you will, and you put the performance level they ask you, you will see that it's just within like 97%, 98% accuracy. So it's perfect.
Mm-hmm. And
the ITT and the torque and all the others, I believe we are now at 95% accuracy. Why we're missing 5%? Well, because I can't have someone flying on every single ISA that exists. You have to interpolate, right? And the data we got initially was ISA 0, which is why it's delivered with the manuals, right? And then the real data from ISA 5, ISA 10, ISA 15, ISA 20. And then we managed to get from another source the ISA -5. And then we use the videos online to grab from other areas around the world, different ISAs, and we constructed the data. So the data can be 100% perfect, but it's incredible real to what he experienced, and he was just thrilled when he started using it because the numbers are now hitting what he was expecting.
That's very cool. So you got it within a couple of % of the real one then?
Yeah, and that's why you see these changing the ways it should be, because I know how much it needs to drop per each 5,000, and that's what you're seeing there, right? So now you have to push up again, right? And in a very hot environment, eventually you're gonna start seeing that. You see ITT now is reaching 700. Okay. Now a lot of people, you go 702, and you are only at 20,000. If you carry on like this, all the way to 27,000, you start seeing going on the yellow because it's too hot, because it can't keep it cool enough. Okay, but there is a misconception when people see videos online, which happened to me. I told him, your ITT numbers are too low, and we started fighting. I said, look at this video, and look at you are telling me that this, I don't understand. And he says, my engine is new, RAUL. My engine is only 150 hours. When the engines get older, they get hotter. So the videos that you're watching are engines that have 1,000 hours, and they're gonna be much hotter of the data I'm giving you. And that's when we went, okay. So we scratched everything that we thought. And we started using his data because it's a new engine. So something that we're gonna do for version 1.2 is all those hours that you're accumulating on the engine will start counting, and then your ITT is gonna get hotter with time because your engine is older.
Very, very cool. This, by the way, ladies and gentlemen watching this, by the way, is a very good example of why using videos that you found online in order to confirm or deny something that a developer is saying is not always going to give you the result that you're expecting. Like, yes, that particular video in that particular situation where you are might show you something as it is. However, things can still be totally different and still be absolutely realistic.
Yeah. And also, guys, the objective of FSReborn is not hitting numbers. I do it because I'm passionate about results, but my objective is bringing an immersion experience. It's not about, oh my God, you have to match 100%. No. If you want to buy my product because you want something that matches numbers, don't. Just don't. Because it's different. You're going to feel something different. You're going to feel like these things feels real because all around it, not because a dial is telling you a number. I tell you, you can fake the number. I could go there and put a fake variable, right? Obviously, I'm not doing that because the pilot will kill me. But oh, you have no idea. but the thing is, it's just the way that I like things doing, that it is accurate. But it's not the entire philosophy. The philosophy is that you have something that makes you feel great, that makes you smile, that makes you feel like, okay, this is so different from everything else I experienced. Even the support, oh my god, I can go and ask Raul this and he's answering me. It's all around it. I want people to understand that I am human. I am a husband, I am a father, I am a son, and like anybody else of you. And someone that dreams to fly. I couldn't do it. And doing these things here, and be able to share and see people taking pictures and showing them and say, oh my god, this is so great. That makes me feel so happy. And that's the whole objective of doing this.
I can really understand. I really feel that. I really feel it. That's the best way I can answer that, honestly. You know, on one hand side, what you just said about, yeah, you can always get the numbers right, but that doesn't give you that feeling of the plane, you know? That goes all the way to the full flight simulators that we're training on every day. Those obviously are 100% right on the numbers, but when you then step into the real plane, it's still gonna feel different, because every plane has a character to it, and that character is something that you can only capture when you're working with the people who fly the plane, who maintain the plane, and who own the plane, because those impressions are something that you just can't put into tables or numbers. But that is exactly the reason why you always need some people on your team who actually fly the real thing.
Yeah, I listen to them, right? Raul, this is wrong. Okay, why is it wrong? Explain to me, right? So people don't get put off when you come to my server and you say, Raul, this is wrong. I ask you, okay, why is it wrong? Well, you know, I am a software engineer. Software engineers, we're trained to ask questions. We're not trained to do as someone has said. That's not how a software engineer works. A software engineer is going to ask you questions. He's going to say, okay, why do you want to do that? What for purpose? What data you can show me to tell me that it's like that? Why we ask those questions? Because we're thinking about the bigger picture. We're asking those questions is because I might have an idea to implement even something better, and I want to know the scope of what you're looking for so I can actually do it. I'm not challenge you. I know it's not that I'm not believing what you're telling me, right? I just need the data because it's how I've been trained for my 30 years experience of developing software to do things.
Absolutely right. Okay, so we are now almost at 26,000. I'm slowly increasing my power lever here to keep the torque up at 1250 roundabout. We can see the ITT is now at 740. 770 is the limit, so
yes.
If you know, I'm a little tempted to take it up to 30,000 just to see what would happen. But then again, we need to slowly level off over here and pick up a little bit of speed so that we get going towards the destination.
Yeah. So obviously now what will happen is, the ideal is that you're always flying in this between 720 to keep your engine okay. You're fine, that's not bad, but pilots tend to drop the power now and keep it around 720. And you see now your performance tables, it will tell you for this particular ISA that you're flying at, which is minus 24, how much the power should be. And if you follow that, you will see that the ITT follows straight away between the parameters of green.
Okay, so I'll just take the ITT down to 720 now at first. Here we go. And then let me try and find those checklists. Or rather, let me try and find those manuals. So, documentation. So there's something on there. When you first talked to me about the documentation, you told me just don't send anybody the links to it, or rather just don't send anybody the documents, but rather send them the links to it. So you are dynamically updating those documents as new things are changed and learned, do you?
Yes. So what happens is that, as usual, you need to be prepared to change your product, because there's always something that's going to be different, like this fuel elevation that we discovered, right? Mm-hmm. Or it could be that we're going to implement a new feature, a new page on the EFB, which is coming. We can talk about it in a bit. Mm-hmm. And what I want is people to be able to get the documentation straight away without me having to say, copy this and that. The entire system has been designed that it works on any platform of Microsoft Flight Simulator. That includes Xbox. So everything you're seeing that I'm doing, I'm thinking, okay, how a user on Xbox is going to be able to access this or do this. It's always on my mind. They're not being left as a second citizen as they think that a lot of devs do. Everything is being thought through. Sometimes I even go to the Discord server Microsoft Flight Simulator and show a screenshot of what I'm doing to Xbox people and tell them how you will handle this in other product, how you click things, how you do that, and they tell me, and based on that I do decisions on the user interface or things that I do around the aircraft. So for what is it? I just lost my mind that one. So what we're saying is we want everyone to be able to use this and be able to work through it, right? And on that basis, every click spot, everything has to work on both systems. So even if someone goes to xCloud, this aircraft is gonna work as you see it right now on PC. Even if someone gonna go to Xbox, it will work exactly as you see it here. So there is a concept of how you develop this stuff using the SDK in a way that is accessible for everybody, and that's the whole concept behind this. And it's using all internal, and you can see things are working great as it should be on the real plane. So it's possible. It just requires a lot of work, but it's possible.
Okay, so just to have an example of the accuracy of the data that you put in there, looking into the manual, I just grabbed the performance charts, and at 26,000 feet in ISA conditions we should be looking at minus 37 degrees. Now I've got minus 24 up there, so looking into the chart for minus 24 we're ending up somewhere in the middle between ISA plus 10 and ISA plus 15. Now just wondering, does the temperature down here take the RAM rise into account?
No.
No.
So you are on OAT 24. Let me find the manual for you quickly. So the idea of the link is that people on Xbox can use the QR code and get the manual immediately. They don't have to hunt for directories. And then when we update the manual, people can access the link and they have the new manual, right? That's it. So it's an active link rather than a physical hardcore manual that you have to read and load again, right? You see what I mean?
Absolutely, and that, by the way, is a really cool thing. Now, just to mention it, that right in the EFB, under the FAQ down there, first tab, you've got the QR codes for the manual. That's probably something that more developers should actually adapt, because it really is probably the easiest way to access your product manuals, is it?
Yes. So you go to what page is it? 132, it will start giving you the torques for different OATs. So you're on minus 24, you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. We're at minus 24 in 26,000.
So you are on 1152 is recommended on the torque to be below 700 degrees.
1152, indeed. So we're at 1175 right now, so... There you go, 1152, and that's giving me 714.
Yeah, so you are below 720. That's exactly the whole objective of it.
Very good. Okay, and now when we're looking into the performance tables,
for the fuel, yeah,
then what we can see down there is we got to interpolate a little, since we're between ISA plus 10 and ISA plus 15, pretty much straight in the middle. But basically we should end up with a fuel flow of about 248, I would say, from interpolation.
Yeah.
And we got 247. Bang on.
Yeah.
And then going on with it, we should get true airspeed roughly 258 knots. Look at that. 258.
Yes.
That's awesome.
That's maths. Lots of maths.
Oh yeah.
Carlos, you're listening to the video. Thank you for all your maths. Carlos is a very special beta tester. He loves reading manuals, and he is a train driver. He works night shifts, and then what happens is he needs to stay at station sometimes late and developing late every day. and when I have a problem, I say I need a math problem. He's very good at maths because he's an engineer, and he sits with me and we do maths together at night to work these things out. So if you are listening, Carlos, you rock, man.
That's awesome. That's just awesome. I mean, the data is bang onto the pound of fuel and onto the knot of speed. That's amazing. That's really amazing.
And this is using internal Microsoft SDK. All internal. No external simulation, all internal. So you can work even on xCloud, Xbox, whatever you have.
Very, very cool. So, now comes the big question. How is my flying? Are the pillows still in place?
The pillows. The
yes,
pillows,
they are.
They are still there, but they fall a little bit. But that's expected.
Let's be honest. This is the first plane where pillows are flying around in the cabin, is it?
Yes, I think.
So the only thing...
Alex is doing something very cool on his PC-12 too, but I'm not going to spoil it. But yeah, this is the first out.
So, we missed it on the pre-flight, but when we go into the ground ops and we do the real-time loading of passengers, then at some point it's going to say flirting with the pilots before they sit down.
They tell you all sort of different things and messages as well, depending on how you land.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You should try it when they land very hard, and you will laugh very hard with what they're going to tell you. It says a lot of, sitcom in there, based on real life things and stuff that I experienced in my life as well. And it's just to give that kind of feeling that you are not using a plane. You actually have things around you interacting with the way that you do stuff.
Mm-hmm. Would it be an idea for future updates to have them throw some comments at you live when you're doing those landings? Like you smash it into the ground and they throw a comment at you verbally, acoustically?
Yeah, I could do all that. Not far off from a good idea, actually. We were tinkering with the idea of put real passengers. There is something I don't like about the rendering right now on 2020. The skin of the human needs a little bit old. God, they are very, very hungry and very cold.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So we better do something about that. Well, let's give them some hot coffee and some snacks, and then I suppose we just put the air conditioning in low or put the climate control up. No,
you put it off. Put it off. You don't need it on.
Okay.
Because you are so high that the bleed lever on the real aircraft, the way it works is that it mixes external air with the engine, right? Mm-hmm. So you change the climate control to the middle, right?
Yeah.
Now the computer inside is gonna mix with a butterfly. How you call it? It's like a butterfly valve that will mix now hot air with the external air that you have. So that way it regulates the temperature. So if you start fighting the aircon with the climate control, you never make the cabin hot. So you have to constantly adjust in this, and it is how it works, and that was explained to me. There you go.
All right. So can we put it in easy words and say like the aircon over here is just like a fan that you have? And
the aircon push cold air, and the bleed lever puts hot air, right? So that's the first. And then the climate control will regulate how much hot air you let in.
All right.
So it's not like a car aircon that does it all automatically. You are doing the mix. You're saying, I want a little bit of aircon, I want a little bit of hot air from outside. So obviously the problem is that when you start descending, you get too hot. And when you start ascending, you get too cold. Right? So you have to constantly adjust it. And this way, it is how it works. So we did all real based on his feedback. He gave me as well the timing that it takes to get a cool, hot, all the kind of things. I mean, I go all that data and then I use it on the code.
Very, very nice. So you can already keep that in for that 727. If the 27 is anyway similar to the 37, I tell you, this is exactly what we'd be doing in the 37 as well. You're constantly fiddling with those switches in order for the cabin temperatures to stay somewhat where they're supposed to be. But when you're doing it for the 727, you gotta simulate that flight attendant slapping the pilots when they're eventually being cooked again.
Okay. Well, that's something we can do.
You know, earlier on I was about to say that when it says over here flirting with the pilots, that whenever the pilot does the wrong move, some passenger should be throwing a pillow at them.
That, well, maybe on 2024, because I'm doing new physics, I could probably do it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see right now. It's starting to get warm again in the cabin, but
yes,
at least they got their food now, and man, those models over here, especially that croissant, that's amazing.
Yes, so this is what I was saying, right? I'd rather spend my purchases on this and the coffee that and something that you barely will go and see. Right now you cannot go and see the undergear carriage, do you? You're flying, but now you can enjoy this, right? So give you a little bit more visuals in the cabin and the table and the lighting. The lighting of this aircraft is incredible. When you are at night, if you switch the dimmers, you will see LED lighting stripes on the right of around the fuselage inside, and it's just so cool. It's one of my favorite lighting effects.
That's something you guys are going to see in the IFR flight video.
Okay.
On that one, I flew up in the high north where the sun was almost down at the horizon, so some really cool effects coming up on that one.
Cool.
Alright, so let's put that away, because I have a feeling we're now like half an hour into the air, so it's not all that far anymore till Lanzarote, and we're already above Gran Canaria, so quick look outside. Amazing scenery as well, isn't it? Like,
yes.
Personally, I really like it, flying those small aircraft up at these high altitudes. It's just, you know, in the mindset of so many flight simulators, these small aircraft are only used for VFR flights in 2,000 feet above the ground. Well, that is nice, but that's not really what things like these are designed for, are they? I mean, these are cruising aircraft. They go up high, they go up fast, and, well, what would an average flight for a plane like this be? Like an hour trip time? 2 hours?
2 hours, 3 hours. It depends on your load of people, mostly. It's an executive kind of short-range jet, if you think about it, because you can get on there and then go from one city to another in an hour. They go quite high and fast. I think it's an amazing machine. The first time I flew this on my first rendering, I managed to go over the cloud. I was so happy because it was the first time.
I can absolutely imagine that.
I could go above clouds and something that I created. It was so incredible.
I can only think about that feeling, really, but it has to be amazing. It really has to be. I mean, one of the big advantages of taking a plane like this, because you were just talking about you could just hop on a jet and fly for like an hour, but one of the big advantages of planes like this is have a look at that fuel flow. We're using 247 pounds an hour. If you were flying a business jet at a similar size of cabin, you'd be burning like, what, 800 pounds per hour per engine or something? And
wow.
Ultimately, we're almost doing 260 knots. Those jets would be doing 350 to 400, but think about it. You are using maybe half the fuel of what a comparable business jet would be using. That's the reason why those turboprops are so popular for missions like what we're doing right now. Alright, so I just quickly want to put the approach in, because then we can see where the top of descent is and do a little bit of planning. I just want to be sure that we are not ultimately circling above Lanzarote and still talking about you know. Alright, so weather over there 020 at 18, 21 degrees 1021, so it's definitely going to be a runway 03 in use. Now, which approach would you favor? Would you take an RNAV, take an ILS? Is there any Anything that you like the most personally?
Yeah, yes, because it's a feature that I implemented I like. When you are on autopilot, right?
Yeah.
It will, obviously this is part of the G1000. It will automatically switch everything for you for the ILS, and you can do the approach on the autopilot, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have the action cameras enabled and you are on autopilot and you pull your landing gear down, it shows you the animations of the gears and stuff.
Okay.
It doesn't do it if you are manually flying, because what happens is, yeah, there you go. So landing gear, for example, and the flaps is another one. Flaps operation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so those two will engage only if you have the autopilot on, so it doesn't interrupt your flight. I saw your first video. You were wondering about the auto position EFB. This is designed for Xbox people.
Ah, okay.
Mostly in mind.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is, if I can show you the operation. So turn it on.
Yeah.
You see what happened, right?
Yeah.
Now, okay. Now go to a normal camera, somewhere else. Okay. Now hide the tablet. Okay. Now imagine you are on Xbox and you want to see this really close when you are on Xbox. Click now to take the tablet out. Boom.
Ah, nice.
All right. And this is the whole concept. I'm thinking about everybody the most I can. Obviously, you don't need it because you are on PC with a head tracker, so you turn it off and done. But the people that need it, then it does help sometimes to have it on. So that's the concept of these action cameras. So the landing gear will do the same thing, so you don't miss animations. The flaps will do the same thing, so you see the flaps coming. And they're random cameras, they change. They're not always the same sometimes. The engine start up, takes you upside so you can see the engine and kind of things. The exit, so you don't miss animation of the door opening. And the GPU, so you see the flap of the aircraft coming out and the cable actually being connected. That's the whole concept of this.
Alright, tell you what, we gotta turn all of those on. All of them. And we have to have a look at them later on.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds really cool. Personally, I was like, okay, they initially didn't sound too interesting to me, because I would just be positioning my own camera all the time. But
Yeah.
I tell you what, that sounds really incredible, so let's give that a try later on.
Okay.
In the meantime, let's just go over here, and we gotta find those approach charts. And quickly put in the approach itself. So, then an ILS it is going to be, so let's just keep that open on the side over there. That's the ILS. How do I get out of that again? Here we go. Alright, that's a star. And what are we coming in over? Laris, I believe? Oh no, on the Rasset. Okay. So we're on that already. And then procedure. Approach, ILS Zulu it is. And we're obviously coming in from Moped down there. Moped minimum. We can turn that one on. Approach. I really love the interaction with the GTN. Did I ever mention that?
Yeah.
And
by the way, Xbox people are gonna get this. They will get it.
Nice. Okay, so minimum's 450. This is a Cat Bravo airplane, is it? Or is it Cat Alpha? I do believe it's Bravo. Well, actually, it has to be Bravo. It's 85 knots the approach speed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, then it's Cat Bravo. Cat Alpha is still 80 knots for those of you who are wondering. Then Cat Bravo is till 120. Charlie is till 140. And then Delta till 160, and above that is only military aircraft. Alright, so that's in. And then top of descent in 2 minutes. Man, it was about time we did this.
Yeah. This version you have, which is the one that's going to be on Marketplace and Xbox, as you can see, the VNAV has now been fixed.
Mm-hmm. So you say we can basically just dial down the altitude, press VNAV button, and that's it?
Yeah, it should.
Alright, so just to be clear to everyone who is currently watching, prior to the stream I got a beta version of the airplane that is supposed to be submitted to marketplace, or that has already been submitted but is waiting approval to get in a marketplace. So seeing this as a beta, it's untested, so things, you know, something might appear or something might not appear. So we've armed VNAV, that's something new that we are testing now, so let's see how that's going to work out.
Let's see. Now you're my beta tester. I love this. I'm not afraid of showing bugs. I mean, I'm not perfect, you know?
Nobody is.
So, I mean, this is the whole thing. If something is wrong, I'm not afraid of people telling me that I'm wrong. I will accept it, and okay, fine, we're gonna work on it. I just ask people to be nice and polite when they do so. Just like I am respecting the entire community by doing all my love and passion to these things, do the same to us, and we will get it better. That's the whole point. I see criticism when something is wrong as a means of saying, I love your product so much that I want you to improve it. So that's how I see it, right? Obviously, when it's something I can do about it, I do it. If it's something I cannot do, no fix for one reason or another, I will explain, and then we get to an agreement.
Absolutely, and ultimately that is really the best way of approaching this, honestly. There are some developers who just get outright defendant when somebody reports an issue, but well, there we go. But your approach is exactly the one that you should be aiming for. Alright, now that we're leaving cruise altitude and starting the descent, what's the correct procedure for the speed over there? Is it just letting it increase till 175 and then reduce power to match it?
Yes, you can descend at the speed you wish. You just reduce power until you are hitting, you don't want to overspeed it, obviously. So now you're going to need to start and watching it until it goes there. So obviously you're doing VNAV, so you are descending like this. There is something interesting you can test yourself later, which we use as a test case to confirm that the drag was correct on the flight model, which is called the emergency descent procedure. And the emergency descent procedure consists on the following. You activate FLC at 168, which is the maximum for the landing gear.
Yeah.
You drop the landing gear, you put flap 10, and put the altitude that you want to go. And the airplane will just plumb down up to 5,000 to 6,000 feet per minute. I got 3 videos from the real pilot doing it, because they have to practice this to get the certification, and his instructor, and we used that to match. And when they try it on for the first time, it didn't work, and I was like, oh god. And then we tweaked certain things and it worked. Leave the VNAV. Oh, you want to do it? Okay,
I want to do that. When I hear something like that, I need to do it.
Okay, fine. So FLC 168. Yeah.
Okay, so 168.
Gear down, flaps down.
Alright, so that should also trigger the action camera, should it?
There you go.
Here we go. So that's automatic, guys. It was not me changing that camera, that was automatic. Very
flap
cool.
10.
And
flap 10.
Wait a moment, it just went back in a VNAV.
Yeah, you have to set VLC. Yeah. There you go. Flap 10.
Flap 10. Again, the action camera. Very cool. And down we go. So that's obviously gaining speed right now, so a little bit steeper than what it would usually be. And
when it hits 168, it will be 168 all the way to 1000. This is
Look at that.
This is how they do it.
Very, very cool. So what's happening to the coffee? They took it away. They took it away.
You watch your pillows now.
Whoopsie.
Each pillow has a different physics because it depends where they are connected, support, like
that's cool.
Right side, etc.
Alright, cool. So this is working. So tell you what, let's get the flaps back up, let's get the gear back up.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's try to get it back onto a halfway descent profile.
Yeah, so when you have a decompression, this is exactly what the procedure that we follow.
Very
to
cool.
also get down quick.
Very cool. Okay, so vertical speed minus 500. Let's try and catch that profile back. Suppose it's going to take a little while now till we're actually back in it. Yeah, it's already calculated new top of descent, so suppose we're just going to level off at 17,000 and wait for the new top of descent.
Yeah, but there you go. Live, we tested BNAV live and it's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And the stuff is working.
Yeah, imagine that, something that works.
Okay, cool. So, let's think about it. We did the minimums, and the rest is basically done automatically by the plane, is it? For the approach setup.
Yeah.
The only thing that might be worth checking just now, going to the approach, is frequencies for the go-arounds, 14.4 and 15.2. So, standby frequencies obviously it does not pre-select, as per the real unit, of course. And 15.2, here we are. Okay, cool. So, let's see. Is there any way we can see the top of descent without opening that flight plan menu here? I don't think so, right?
TOD says on the map. On the map you see it, right?
Yeah, okay, that's true. That's true.
So
if just do like
you don't have vertical nav now set, I think.
yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Just level it off. So let's re-enable that.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, down to like 10,000 or so. VPath is armed. And here we go. Very good. Okay, so let's just have a look into the checklist. I don't think it says too much about the descent, but nonetheless. Okay, so where is it? Where is it? Here it is. Descent checklist. Windshield heat switch. Defog if required. Is there any fogging of the windshield?
I haven't, because I have an issue that it will flicker. I know AT18 managed to do it. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea how the hell they did it. I couldn't make it work, so I didn't put it. But I'm gonna ask later, so if they can advise how it could be implemented. I just couldn't make it work. It will be glitching and doing this kind of. You're seeing this in some products, right, where the glass start glitching with the background, and it's just I couldn't make it work, so I just took it off.
Okay. Alright, so then, ice protection equipment as required. Well, not needed at the moment. Power lever set to desired torque. Altimeter set and cross-check. So, for now we are still above the transition altitude, so we're going to keep them on standard. Destination elevation check, so... yeah, I think this changed to the minimum still.
Yeah, yes. I haven't fixed that in this version.
Okay.
That's coming after, because the version you have, we were just trying to address the issue with the performance that we discussed in the beginning.
All right.
And that was a key thing to push out.
Absolutely logical.
Just to prevent anybody that buys a new not knowing.
Yeah.
So now that we have got a stable, now going to what I call the second stage of release, where I go to my forum and all the nice things that people are asking, I start including, and then we just start polishing from here all the way to January, February. And at that point, I will switch to PHENOM full time.
Very cool. I can't wait for PHENOM. I honestly tell you, I can't wait for it. That's gonna be such a cool airplane.
It's gonna be made to the standards of what you guys are seeing here. I would say higher.
Wow.
The developing time of this project took me a while because I've been building technologies. The EFB is one of them. The Navigraph integration, all that kind of stuff. That's a lot of work. People don't know how long it takes. I spent between 4 to 5 months only on the EFB for the project, for the 17 months.
Yep.
To build the ground operations, all those trucks and cars and things, it was done by me. And the code and everything, and that was probably 3 months. So you think about it, that's almost 10 months, because that's just putting the code and someone test it, tell me that's wrong, then you fix it, it's a whole cycle. So from the 17 months, 10 months have been building technologies. The technology of custom engine simulation, the technology of IDT, the technology of pressurization, which it has some bugs right now that have been reported under emergency circumstances that we're going to fix as well. The technology of the tablet, the technology on this, and those technologies I can use now for the rest of the fleet. The entire ground operation system is going to keep improving with time until the point that we're going to see humans doing things. The ground operations will be different per aircraft because the fuel truck that you get for a turboprop is not the same fuel truck that you get for a Phenom, right? So the takeaway is there has been a lot of developing behind of technologies that I want to use for the entire fleet. Now I don't have to build a tablet from scratch. I don't have to build the ground ops from scratch, the luggage, understand? So and now it means that I have more space to develop even more cool stuff on other areas. And the Phenom is something that are going to increase the immersion experience quite a lot with stuff that I'm planning to do.
Can't wait for it. I just can't wait for it. But that can be...
Yeah, it's going to take a while. I'm going to go in my cave and work. Philosophy of FSReborn, there are no deadlines, there are no dates. When people ask, they're going to get the same answer, when it's ready. This is for fairness for both parties. If I set myself a deadline, I know I'm going to miss it because I'm a perfectionist. And I always find something else I need to change. So it puts me a limit. Saying a date or a time means that I cannot do it the way I want it. And I hate that. I can't do that. Then I lose my passion because it becomes a job. This is not a job, this is a dream. And to be able to do it that way, I can't put myself a limit. There is no limit. It is as much as I can push. Why? It could be that in the middle of my beta test, one of the pilots tell me a story or something that happened. I find it cool and I want to do it. If I had a deadline now, I can't. You understand? So instead of limiting myself that way, I'd rather have the possibility to choose to do what I want to do.
I can totally understand that. I mean, deadlines are something for big companies who've got like contracts to fulfill and stuff like that. But with flight simulation, the only big company there is really is Asobo themselves, and even they had to push a sim update at one point. I don't remember which one, but even they had to delay a sim update by like 2 months or so. But things really had to beep the fan for that to happen. But for small developers like yourself, or even for the let me just call them larger development groups here, like PMDG, like Phoenix, like Leonardo, or even indie builds, for them, if you set yourself a deadline, you're just going to miss out on quality. And as much as I can understand flight simmers being unhappy that they just get this vague, it's going to come soon answer, we really have to say that, well, for small developers like this, imagine you're setting a deadline and then all of a sudden the developer's parents get sick, then 2 weeks of caring for the parents, and either you strip out a complete feature or 2 or 3 or 4, or you're gonna miss the deadline. So ultimately, I think in flight simulation, it's gonna come soon or when it's ready answer is really the only one you can realistically give. Is that like a correct perception?
Yeah, I need to tell them when it's ready because I want to build things different. What you're experiencing today is example, right? If I put a deadline of 10 months, then you will have half this, and that's not something that people will appreciate. People want to have something full. So it's better to say when it's ready, but it's a difficult answer because you cannot say just when it's ready unless you have a reputation behind you to make them understand why do you say when it's ready. And I think with this product now we have achieved that. I think now people will understand when I say no, it's going to be when it's ready. They understand that it's worth waiting rather than pushing me to accelerate when it's not worth doing that, because then you don't get a good result, right? So the whole philosophy behind FSReborn is when it's ready, there's going to be a point in time in the developing when suddenly I said something. That means I want attention for new testers, and that means that we're now close, just like it happened with this product, right? And we came out talking about it studently, and 3 months later we're out. Okay, but it took 3 months. Why it took 3 months? Because I rebuilt the engine, I rebuilt all the simulation, I add simulations, I did all sort of things to it. It took me out of surprise the amount of stuff that I had to do. So I'm glad I didn't put myself with a deadline, and I could have all the time needed to do it right.
Okay, I just accidentally entered level of mode over here. And can I get back in a VNAV somehow? Wait a second, I think I messed myself over. Should still be in the descent. 1000 feet a minute required. Is there anything I'm missing to get it back in VNAV right now?
It is ARM, so what altitude is expecting? It's catching up. You see 236, 235.
Yeah. So I need to fly myself back into that, right?
Yeah.
Well, that is easy.
That's it.
Passengers won't be happy, but we're getting back into it.
With ARM now.
Here we go.
Okay.
Just wondering, is it normal that the VNAV path isn't showing on here when we've just been catching back up to it?
This is exactly as coded with SUE 13 on the working title units. If they change anything, I have to include it after, because if you see the ACAS displays of the engines, it's totally custom, and this is all done with the reversionary, everything custom. So I have to do a small, what we call in developing terms, fork of the current version. And then what happens is I play catch up. So when they make public SUE 14, I have to take their code, merge mine, and then it becomes again the new SUE 14 plus the changes that I put in for the engine displays and things. So now they're implementing Toga, so that's coming when they make it. I think they're implementing Toga. We saw some screenshots on their channels. They implemented the Garmin unit that has a keyword, so we will add that as well as soon as they let us have it. That one there, yeah. Ramon, which is one of the pilots, told me how to do the fuel cutoff special valve like that. When we did the 3D, we didn't have enough pictures, so he sent me now proper videos and stuff, so we're gonna redo that bit. It's a lot of stuff that we're gonna continue improving. I think by January, February, we're gonna have beyond version 1.3 or 4 probably.
But it's very good to see that more stuff is coming. Like some simmers seem to think that when you are releasing a version 1.0, you're basically done and only doing bug fixing. But as you told me prior to the time we started recording the video, there's actually a lot of additional features possible as well. It's just getting that data, is it?
Yes, we're missing extra data on landing procedure on top of the runway, which we're waiting to improve the drag a little bit more. We know that approach drag is spot on, and the drag over the runway when the wing is calm is okay. But it could be circumstances when you have a lot of wind on the headwind, and we need to complement the flight model a little bit, but I need data. So we're waiting for that data. I'm not going to put fake data because it doesn't make sense. But if people follow the manual, the way that you approach the aircraft, which is exactly how the pilots describe it and show me on the videos, everything will be fine. So that is coming. There is something that the pilots have been helping me with this, are very keen to implement, that we're going to start developing when I finish polishing certain things, which is the custom trigger failures. As you saw, we have a lot of failures. I mean, I can't even bother to sit and list them because there's so many of them that it's just impossible, right? But what's going to happen is when we do what they're expecting is this. They like so much how this behaves that they want to train on it. So we're going to develop on the tablet a system for the CFI, which is a flying structure, where he can go and sit program situations for the pilot, lock it with a password so the pilot cannot see what it is, and then the pilot go. And what will happen is this is what they do on the real world training. Obviously, this is not certified for real world training, I must say, as the manual says, but I'm doing them for them because they helped me so much that I want them to have it. I will just turn my blind eye onto it. They know that it's not certified for training, and it's not, it will never be. But nevertheless, we're putting it in, and they give me an Excel spreadsheet of all the stuff they do, and all that is going to be coded there on the EFB. So people are going to enjoy that as part of the product. So you could even, one of the things I'm going to put there is even, you could say, well, I want to experience a beer strike at this point in time or this altitude.
Very cool. So is there any chance you can do that in a way like you can remote control that, so that, for example, if I was sitting here together with you, you could inject failures from your computer into my sim?
We are working with them to see how we could do it, because the philosophy is I cannot break the external limits. Everything has to work on all the consoles, everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we discovered that there is a software that they can install that will pop out the tablet
Mm-hmm.
in a different room by a network connection to Microsoft Flight Simulator, and that could be a way. But we haven't explored it fully yet because obviously it will need more kind of tweaking. But it is a possibility. But it can't be fully remote because then it will break for the user interface that we have that works nicely on Xbox and everything, you see.
Okay.
One of the things that Phoenix has is that the tablet is external, but because the tablet is external, then it will not work on Xbox, right?
Yeah, of course.
Right, so you see that's the difficulty. This tablet works internal with a Microsoft SDK. Everything you see working there is actually SDK code, nothing external.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so that's just something, let's just say, limited by the simulator, but ultimately, even if it works on a network, you know, that'd be really cool. Like, just some options there. Or maybe at some point, something like, maybe at some point you could do something like a random failures or so? Or is that something...
Well, that's part of the random failures already occurs. Is the wear and tear. You are not taking care of a component, it will go wrong. That's all already there. This is all part of the product. What we're doing is something additional that you can trigger them by yourself, saying, no, forget about that. I want to experience my generator going wrong in 15 minutes. I want to experience my generator failing at 3,000 feet. I want to experience my engine quitting when I reach 30 miles from destination. You know, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But right now you have all the failures in there. We're just topping it up to the next level, right?
Of course, sorry. I should have phrased that a little bit different anyway. Like, you know, like adding an option right now, we got all the sliders up here where we can increase the wear and tear for the stuff, but yeah. I was thinking about something like, okay, maybe either a couple of scenario buttons. Like
that's exactly what's coming. So you see the buttons at the bottom, right? There will be another one saying failures or custom failures, and then you click there, and an entire new interface will be there dedicated for that purpose. And that's exactly what the CFI will be using to trigger this.
All right.
And you can say, give me one random, for example. And it will pick one of them and then do a random, so you don't even know what it could be, right? So you have to be ready. You have to be ready. This is how you guys train. So that's exactly what they're asking me to do. I'm doing it, but with a caveat, it's not certified for real flight training, right? It's
of course. Yeah, as good as anything Max at Flight Simulator is ever going to be. Just, you know, it might even be on a full flight simulator level, but just getting it certified for that would cost a fortune. Probably more than Asobo ever made with that sim in first place.
Who knows? There was a joke, someone on a forum asking me something about that, and say, well, yeah, I can sell you a FAA certified add-on, but it's not going to cost $32. It's going to cost you probably 32,000 plus 40,000 a year on maintenance fee. And he started laughing.
Exactly that.
You know, I mean, come on. This
Yeah.
is a product that look what it's capable of doing for 32 USD.
Mm-hmm. Well, honestly, for 32 USD, what this one is doing is amazing already. It's really amazing. Just thinking on, you know, like 5 years back in the FSX days, or in the P3D days, you know, this would have cost easily $80 to $100 or so, and you're offering it at 32. That is amazing. I suppose the bigger customer base in Microsoft Flight Simulator is really, it really helps you out, doesn't it, if you sell so many copies rather than, you know, 10% of those copies, like it used to be 5 years ago.
I'm gonna be honest with everybody watching the video. I know this particular project wasn't about money. The objective I have for the first 3 products I'm releasing is brand awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So the Sting S4 was a way for me to come to the market and say, hello, I am here, and someone capable of doing this.
Mm-hmm.
This product is the way that I put my stand on the market, saying we're capable of doing amazing stuff. Please give us a chance to show it and prove it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And the PHENOM is going to be my way to saying this is what we are about.
Mm-hmm.
At the point I reach the PHENOM is when I believe I will have enough funding to probably start doing this full time, because at the moment, many people don't know, I have a full-time job. I work 8 a.m. to 6:30, sometimes 7 p.m. Monday to Friday, and I only do all this job that you guys are seeing at night when I get home after my family goes to sleep. I sit on my simulator and just start building my dreams and building all this kind of stuff until whatever time I feel is enough to go to bed. and then I repeat. Obviously, it's not always until late. The first months of the project, I try to go to bed 11, 12 a.m. But when the last bits, like these last 3-4 weeks, I've been going to bed 4 or 5, and I have to sleep 2 hours and go to work and then come back. So obviously, I have the hopes that one day that stops, I can do it full time. But the entire objective of this product is the brand awareness that this is something we can do, and we want people to support us, support the project, come to us and say, okay, these guys, you know, they know what they're talking about. If they're saying they're doing a product in the future and they're saying it will be done when it's done, they will understand now why we use that philosophy and why we're so engaged on the market with the community and everything, so we can learn together and make things much better.
Sounds very good. Alright then, we are about to approach the about turning final. Let's read the before landing checklist, starting with the approach check. So autopilot disengage below 100 knots, well, that's not gonna happen quite yet. Fuel pumps, manual, ignition, manual, landing lights, on. Fuel quantity and balance, checked, seats, armrest and belts, adjusted, locked. Landing gear, down below 168 knots, and we're just about turning final, so let's indeed go gear down. That's the action camera I use once again. It's a neat feature, I start liking that.
Yeah, I sense that you're gonna start flying this product much more and more and more.
Alright, flaps 10. Here we go. Okay, and with that, the approach check is complete. So, automatic switching to the ILS frequency and stuff is going to occur at the Fox India point, is it? At the final approach phase.
It should.
Okay. So, if we're on the approach mode now, that's just going to arm localize and glide slope, right? Oh, here we go. Okay, Golfy was the IF. Then here we go. Approach armed, localizer captured. Glide slope is armed. So what's a typical approach speed in the FSR500? Like, what speed do you use for the intermediate approach? What do you use for the final approach?
Well, what the pilot explained to me, obviously he's the expert. He approaches, you are already on flap 10. We'll need to pull out the manual, hold on. But he approaches with, when he's about to land, he's at full flaps.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole idea is to have drag when he goes idle on top of the flare.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a slippery plane by default, you know? And the difficulty is that people are comparing this to other products that have more drag because the way that the engine is. The ES engine has a high RPM, right? Even on idle, it's 1,300, 1,200 RPMs. You know, think about that.
Yeah.
So you are pushing so much air that it will float a little bit. So he's going with the energy to have the drag in. When he has wing at the front, he's using less flaps because aerodynamics, if you have full flaps, your stall is lower. And because your stall is lower and you have so much air coming from the front, you know, you will float longer if you have full flaps. So it's a little bit tricky airplane to land if you think about it, because you have to manage your energy. You have to go into the approach at the right speed. He starts around 145, then he starts putting more flaps and reducing speed until he's on the B ref of 85. But if you want to go faster, you can go faster, right? It will slow down quite quickly when you go idle. Something that I learned with him is that it was shocking to me. They go, the engine is strange, right? You pull it idle and you will see the torque going to 10. And but on the ground it stays 140. Yeah. Right. So it's like, are you for real? I couldn't believe it. I thought it was it wasn't true. He had to show me a video. I said, okay, fine. I have to start coding all that stuff. There you go. Right?
Here it is.
Right. So now look at the speed. It's gonna go like you. There you go. Right. So the drag is there, but you have to manage your energy during landing. I mean, what is your front wing is now 25 knots.
Yeah.
That's a wing over the, right. So you should land flat 20 maximum. So you can ensure that it doesn't float that much. Where when it's calm, full flap.
Okay.
And that full flap makes you brake, right? It's like your speed brakes. But if you use full flap with such a head wind, it's not going to work very well.
Yeah. I mean, especially Lanzarote, and I know that airport, when the wind is coming like it is right now, and coming over the buildings, coming downhill, it's going to be turbulent anyway. Especially since it's coming slightly from the right hand side, so it's going to go over the coastline over here. That's going to cause a lot of turbulence. So
right.
If flap 20 gets us a little bit more margin over there, that's certainly what we're going to use. For now, though, due to those 20 knots of headwind, I'm just keeping my indicated airspeed a little bit higher, aiming for the 500 foot gate over here for VMC approaches. So I suppose when I start reducing it, like, 1,000 feet or so, that's gonna be more than sufficient. On the other hand side, that might be a little bit too much of airline thinking over here with the 500 foot gate, but I do suppose in a smaller airplane you would take care of it as well, would you?
Yeah. I mean, there are different techniques with this. The 350 is different than we have a pilot, and he was explaining. There you go. You can hear the wind. You hear it when you're on the camera.
Okay, so landing check. Gear indication, 3 green, brakes. Brakes checked. You just press the pedals, do you? And just see that the pedals are reacting, right?
Careful, you're gonna stall. You're on idle. Give a little bit of.
Yeah, it's still 94 knots, so...
Okay.
Here we go. 90.
That's it.
Looks good. Okay.
Less, a little bit less.
Oh, yeah.
This is the thing.
Yeah, it's coming up really quickly.
Well, it's the lag on the turbos, and this is what happened. This is what's catching people.
Okay, so let's put flight director off, and autopilot off, and yaw damper off. Quickly read the rest of the checklist as we're about to reach the minimum. So flaps 20 set, Airspeed 85, yeah, roughly, a little bit quick right now. Autopilot off, yaw damper off, and power lever will be reduced in a moment. Okay, landing check is complete. And obviously I destabilized myself pretty much straight away.
It's the winds. They're very heavy. You can see them back changing.
Yeah, they've just reduced from 21 knots down to 13. Now they're slightly increasing again. Okay, and I gotta resume my normal seating position here.
There you go, you're cool.
Yeah, easy going.
You're very good now.
Yeah. A little bit fast on speed, it's 93 right now, but...
Yeah, so you're gonna need to idle it a little bit earlier on the flare and then you will be fine.
Yeah. It's a long runway anyway. So, speed is 97 now, the wind has slightly increased again, 21 knots, so now it's all visual. Power is in idle. We'll just let it flare in, and that's it. The touchdown zone is pretty short though, here in Lanzarote. I've had it a couple of times in the 737 and I just had to smash it on the last marker over there. Okay, we're down.
Perfect. You see, you didn't flow that much.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just let it roll. We'll take the next exit, not this one. Then we just don't need any brakes at all. Right, here we go. So, a little bit of beta range right now. And
Love that sound.
oh yes. Oh yes.
The sound is so addictive.
Yeah. And here we are. Alright, going to vacate the runway. An hour and 21 flying time, so it took us a little longer than SimBrief predicted, but suppose that's fine.
We did the emergency down and, you know, we lost speed.
Yeah.
Down.
Okay, and the entire airplane is clear of the runway. So, after landing check, timer stop, fuel pumps. Auto, ignition off, pitot heat off. Ice protection equipment, I'll put the windshield heat off as well, landing and taxi light. So taxi on, landing off, strobe light off, weather radar, standby, flaps retracting. Okay, and the transponder back to on. Okay, after landing checklist complete, then let's go ahead and find ourselves a little nice spot to park. Suppose GA terminal is over there, so we'll park on spot number 14.
Yep.
We'll go to the right and then first to the left. Or you might just as well go straight over here. In real life you always get a marshal over here when you enter the apron. I suppose that's why they don't have too detailed information here on the chart as to where to taxi.
Spain, you know.
Yeah.
They do as they please in those.
Alright, spot 14, here it is. So, back in the beta. Right now I'm riding the brakes, that can't be good. Yeah, what do I do now?
Too much with that.
Yeah. Alright, tell you what, the brakes will have to survive this little last bit.
Yeah.
Okay, here we are.
That's okay. I mean, the brakes will really consume if you are using them during landing. But for this, it's fine. This is designed for this.
Alright, cool. So, shutdown checklist then. Park brake set, ECS cabin comfort. Well, before I turn that off, I just want to know what I did to the passengers. Oopsie.
Yeah.
Hungry, thirsty, it's so hot, passengers want to jump out. Great landing though.
Yeah.
Well, 41 degrees inside. Tell you what, take the bleeder off. Okay, so ECS cabin comfort. Off, power lever, idle, cabin climate controls. Well, I'm just gonna run that fan for a couple of moments. It's a little bit...
when you open, what you do now is you turn the aircon off because you have to shoot down the engine, right?
Yep.
And then you leave both fans running and the vent fan.
Okay.
And the other one, this is vent fan.
Yep.
That's it. So that gives some air, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's ambient air, but it's some air. And then when you open the cabin door, the heat starts dissipating because it's like you open the door of the car, right? All
Yeah,
that's
true.
related too.
Okay. Well, in that case, let's continue. Fuel pump switch. Off. Avionics switch off, generator switch off, alternator switch off, IRT, stabilize at idle for 2 minutes, we've had that already. So, condition lever, cut off. So, let's wait for the feather cast message. In the meantime, transponder, standby.
Look at the ITT. You see it's residual?
Mm-hmm.
That's based on real data as well.
Very, very cool.
So he told me that it takes to go from 300 to 210, 30 seconds when he was at OAT 24 degrees. So you are at 21. So you can see that it's following that. And then he says then it will tank at 210 for an hour or so.
Wow. Okay.
So he will need to do a dry run to be able to get air again in the air if he has to do it before 30 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
There you go. See?
Yeah. That's cool. That's really cool. And I mean, that's the kind of information you only get from pilots, is it? Like, that is not in any manual.
Impossible. And I already have PHENOM pilots desperate to start giving me data, which is great. So we're going to achieve the same kind of results. See, it's going down very slowly.
Very, very cool. Okay, then, continuing with the checklist. The feather cast message is checked on, bleed air. It's out.
Oh.
Exterior lighting switches. Off, fuel remaining. What do we have down there? 102 each side. Man, that should probably have loaded a little bit more fuel. Okay, so fuel remaining is noted, and with that, battery switch can go out. Okay, wheel chocks as required. Let's see, temperature is 40 degrees. Okay, we better get that quick. So,
Open the door.
yeah. Here we go.
That's the camera.
I like those action cameras, man. Alright, cool.
It helps to avoid missing animation, so at least you can catch him at some point.
Alright, cool. So with that, the shutdown checklist is about completed. Just a quick thing for us to do over here. Let's do the ground ups. Chocks in, pitot covers on, and that's it. Alright, cool. So that is our flight.
You could do the unload, and then the car will come to pick them up. And you can see some mimics in there. They're stretching their legs outside waiting for the car. I mean, one day I will put all of them doing actually what it says. But you have to start somewhere, right? Otherwise I will be developing these 10 years and never ending.
Absolutely. Alright, man, that was really, really cool flight. I have to say, the more I'm flying the FSR500, the more I'm liking it, really. It's one of those aircraft where, when I stepped into it for the very first time, I gotta be honest, it was in a rather dark setup, so the lights made everything look a little bit cartoonish, the likes. But the more I'm seeing it, and when I'm seeing it right now, it's such an awesome airplane to look at. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking like, yeah, those lights, when those light up the plane like that, that's actually how it would probably look like. And, you know, that was my very first impression. And the more and more I'm flying this, the more and more I get to like it, really. It's an awesome airplane.
Thank you, man. I hope everyone loves it. Remind everyone that I'm totally open to improve things. If I have to improve things, just come and be polite. I'm trying to build a nice community on my Discord server where we're all learning together, rather than becoming an environment that I want everyone to enjoy the environment. So I encourage people to actually help each other. When they report something, just do it in a very nice way. There is no reason to get upset or anything. You just tell me what we're supposed to be doing or what is your problem, and we will do our best to help.
Absolutely, and that's the most important thing. So the very important message for everyone over here is really, if there is anything that you feel could be improved, if there is anything you feel that might not be right, there is nothing wrong at all with contacting the developer's support if available, and just mention it. Ask them like, hey, is that supposed to be like it is? Or hey, I have a suggestion, maybe you can do this and that. Nothing bad can happen at all. So be open-minded, guys. Do head out and do ask those questions. Like,
Yes.
I am sure with my style of flying, somebody would probably only notice after the flight, like, hey, why are there pillows lying down there? Is that supposed to happen? Well, yeah, with me in the flight deck, that does actually happen.
Yeah.
But,
And sometimes your questions are all valid and erase, oh, okay, we got it wrong. Sometimes your questions just, no, yes, that's how it's supposed to be. We did a lot of documentation. We did 5 tutorial videos that are there on the FAQ freaking questions.
Mm-hmm.
We have 144 pages of manual explaining everything. Even if you have a question or you don't believe the flight model, we explain things on a full section of the manual about it, with the figures of the real pilots, how they're telling us how it's supposed to behave, and everything is as just manual show is spot on. The speed, fuel, ITT, everything. So it's not like, sometimes users say, I feel this should be like this. Okay, I understand that, but I have done what I've been told these days.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing that.
And that's really good. Ultimately, as we said earlier on, the manuals can tell you so much, but there is likewise so much that the manuals cannot tell you.
Yeah.
Alright, so the last thing I just want to try, let's get those pillows back up.
Ah, yes.
Man, I wish I could tidy up that quickly at home.
that puts it actually at the back.
Yeah.
You have 2 buttons, one that puts it at the back and one that puts it like this.
Okay, here we are.
So you can choose which one you want. If you want to put it all the way at the back, or you want to put it in there.
Alright, that's perfect. Well, for now, I have a feeling I gotta put them at the back, because it's like 11:15 p.m. where I am right now, when I'm recording this. I have a feeling if we are doing another sector now, if we are not coming to an end, ultimately my girlfriend is going to throw pretty much any pillow that's lying on the bed over there at me. So with that, Raul, I would like to thank you very, very much for taking the time, coming over to the channel. It's really been an honor and a pleasure flying with you, and it's really a pleasure flying your FSR500. I really can't wait to see the PHENOM in action and ultimately the 727. But in the meantime, thank you very much for heading over.
Thank you for the opportunity to be on your channel and showcase the product to everybody and be able to explain in full details many of the systems that we developed for it.
Alright, very cool. Now it's your turn, guys. Tell me in the comments below what you think about the FSR500. Have you tried it already? Do you plan to try it? Do let me know in the comments below. And I'm really looking forward to read your experiences on the airplane. As always, if there is anything you feel that you're not 100% sure if it's right, or if there is something you are 100% sure that is right and want to thank Raul for doing, then head over to his Discord. And as we've just said, you're very welcome over there for any feedback, any critique, or any suggestions that you may have. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for staying with us for such a long time over here as well. And with that, head over to flying your favorite FSR500. Head over to flying, well, other aircraft. Sorry guys, Raul is still listening in. Alright. No, head over to flying the FSR500. It is a very, very good plane. I can absolutely recommend it. And I'm saying that, I'm not being paid to say that, okay? All right.
All right.
So, thank you very much,
everyone.
everyone. And then we see you all again on the next one. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like, as it does help with the YouTube algorithms, and subscribe to the channel if you're up for more. And with that, we're signing off of this one. Thank you very much for watching, and enjoy your virtual flights wherever they are taking you.